Uhuru. Thank you so much for joining us again. Thank you so much for joining us. Hold on, let me get some more light in here. Hold on one second. Some light. Hold on. There we go. I think. Okay, my light about to tip over. Okay, we'll figure it out later. But everybody, we are live again. Dynasty Mirror Search for Uhuru. Thank you so much for joining us. As we always do before we get started, we just want to thank you all for the support. It really means a lot. Again, it really means a lot. Guys, continue supporting us. Continue supporting the platform so we can continue to grow as we are doing. We are growing. And again, you guys played a huge role in doing that. Also, like, share, subscribe. Again, like, share, and subscribe. As you come into the chat room, hit the like button, okay?
Hit the like button.
Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you. Hit the like button, share, subscribe. There's almost 84,000 of you all, so I need all hands on deck. And also, there's a giveaway. Once we hit 100,000 subscribers, I have a special gift for one of you. Okay, so during the show, I'm gonna go run and get it, show it to you guys. Black-owned company by the name of Tomlini was so kind enough to give me some of his custom snake leather duffel bags. Real nice. Real nice choice. I got 3 of them. So shout out to him. So I will be giving one away once we hit 100,000 subscribers. Okay. Go to dynastymirror.com. Again, I need you guys to go to dynastymirror.com. While you're there, everyone should have a book or a shirt, okay? Again, everyone should have a book or a shirt. I know you guys got libraries. I know you guys got books. So your host, okay, has written several books. So therefore, you need to buy a book. Thank you. Now, figure snap. I'll let Tiffany does the figure snapping. No figure snapping on this is. So thank you, Tiffany, for the figure snapping. So you need to go buy a book and you need to go buy a shirt. All right, Prince of Odoruo, Nigeria shirt, plenty of shirts. Go and buy something. All right, and then become a monthly Patreon. Let me get that going. Monthly Patreon, patreon.com. Search for Uhuru. Again, patreon.com. Search for Uhuru. Go and become a monthly Patreon, everybody. Then one last announcement. Tours. Sierra Leone, April 21st through the 30th. Again, April 21st through the 30th. Come with us. Come join us. We're rolling. Sierra Leone. Come and roll with us again. Come and roll with us. Okay? Hit me up for more information. Without further ado, we have a special guest on with us today. Miss Tiffany Okafor is on with us today. Hey, guys, it's somebody's birthday today. It's somebody's birthday today. Whose birthday?
October 13th was.
Oh, we passed. Oh, we did. It was 2 days ago. We're going to celebrate it today. So I'm going to need y'all to give Tiffany a big happy birthday. Happy birthday.
With more passion. I need more passion.
Like this is audio get out of me. I'm sorry, Tiffany.
I'm not. Just a little bit more passion. Y'all type in the comments, sing with more passion, Dinah. Sing with more passion.
Okay, here
Maybe
we go.
if he sees enough of y'all, he'll sing with more passion. Okay.
Happy birthday to you.
I like that.
Happy birthday, Tiffany. Happy birthday to you. To you. There we go, y'all.
That was good. That was good. I like that vibrato at the end.
Happy birthday to you. To you. Oh, Barry White. Happy birthday.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, whatever. So today's topic: why are Black women more than ever choosing Africa over America? There's a lot of you sisters that just are in Tanzania right now. Y'all stop hating on my singing.
Huh?
Hey,
Oh, you're
hate on
singing?
my singing. Yeah, stop hating on my singing.
No, don't hate on his singing. He tried his best. You
Stop hating on
see,
my singing.
people can't be good at everything, but it's the passion that counts.
Thank
Don't
you.
hate.
Y'all stop hating on my singing. Y'all know more than ever,
Hmm.
a lot of sisters are relocating to Tanzania or to Africa in general. A lot
Yeah.
more sisters than brothers.
Yes, it's
From what
true.
I see. And so we want to, just want to ask the question why. So, Miss Tiffany, if you want to introduce yourself for those who don't know you, don't know who you are.
Yes. Hello, everyone on the internet, wherever you are. My name is Tiffany Okafor. I am the best-selling author of a personal development book called Bitchy, which you can purchase on Amazon. I make YouTube videos, and I am also a certified life and success coach, which basically means I help people get back to their natural state so they can do whatever it is they need to do, level up that self-esteem. Yeah, and I'm happy to be here. Regarding the question, why are Black women coming here more than ever? I mean, I can only guess based on conversations that I've had. Um, but I think that maybe spiritually, maybe we heard the call first. I don't know if you've ever heard the saying like a culture can only go as high as its women or something like that. I think that's why we've been called here first. And, in addition to that, I feel that just because of a lot of brainwashing and programming, there's a lot of like hate between the Black men and women. And I know that a lot of us, especially those of us who are single, don't feel that we have a lot of protection. But it's different when you come
Can you,
here.
can you please expand on this protection? I keep hearing this, and from what I'm noticing, and correct me if I'm
Hmm.
wrong, Miss Tiffany,
Yeah.
this
Hmm.
whole protection thing is like I see a lot of women who are putting themselves in position where
Hmm.
why would a man want to protect you? It's like you do whatever you want, and we're obligated to protect you.
Hmm. That's an interesting perspective. I can't speak to that kind of woman, but what I can speak to is like me. I have I've been single. I mean, not married since forever. I've never been married before. But something that I found a lot is that there were there are just a lot of situations where nobody had my back. And I think that you don't have to be like a certain kind of woman for like men to have your back. I feel that men should have the back of women and children, period, regardless. I just
No,
think
no matter what position, no matter what situation, a lot of these women put
meaning
themselves in.
like if you were to be in a public space and see another man harming a woman
Okay,
that or harming a child, even if you don't go beat the man up, I feel like, it's sort of a man's responsibility to help out in that case. And I know that there are a lot of us who don't feel like we have that, period. From men, from other women, from anybody else, just because like when you look at TV. Let's talk about how we're like programmed. Everything that's like a Black TV show, for the most part, shows women fighting, throwing water, shaking tables.
right, right.
And
We getting
all of
snatched.
our
We
music
getting snatched.
showcase men, all of our music for the most part showcase like men treating women like bitches. You know what I'm saying? Like
Uh-huh.
that's what the music culture is, Black music culture for the most part when we're talking about pop music. And I think that we can't sit here and act like that media plays no part in how people typically respond. It actually usually influences the way that people behave. And so, yeah, here, and I noticed this once I got here, especially. almost every person that helps me out in some kind of way is a man. You know, like in every way. They're all men. They're none of these men I'm like sleeping with, none of these men are trying to sleep with me that I know of. But they're like so helpful, and they're helping me in a respectful way without, putting their hands on my body or anything. They're literally helping me because I am their sister. And I didn't have the same experience when I was in the United States. There was not like a whole large circle of men that were helping me when I needed help. And that's all I can really say. I noticed that difference once I got here. I didn't necessarily say, oh, I'm gonna move to Tanzania because like I don't have any protection and I'm scared. But once I got here, I was like, oh, like this is what it's like to be supported by men. Like I've never had this before. And that's my own personal experience. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Okay. Guys, hit that like button, because the reason why I'm asking this, because you have situations like, how can I put it? Like Megan Thee Stallion. It's like they put them, like certain women that put themselves in.
Got to use an extreme case. Megan Thee Stallion got bodyguards, so that's a bad example.
But she still says she's not protected by black men, even with the bodyguard.
Oh, she did. See, I don't follow, so I don't know.
Okay, yeah. Even with the black bodyguard, she still says she's not protected by black men. But how can I put it? It's just certain situations certain women put themselves in, and they were supposed to come bail them out. So it's like they can do whatever they want, put themselves in certain positions and situations and circumstances. But
we talking about majority. You saying certain? We're talking about the majority of women and what the experience is. Like if there are certain women that do whatever, the women that are here for the most part are not certain women. They are women who have packed up their entire lives and come all the way here. These are not your average women. So if these women are coming here, what does that say about our culture? Like, what does that say about our culture that we would pack up all our shit and roll the fuck out? Pardon my French, everyone, my language, whatever. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying these are not average women that are moving all the way over here. So we can't say certain women or these women that are here are not the certain type of women or the average type of woman. So that kind of doesn't even apply. The average woman, even if you're using your Megan Thee Stallion example, she ain't here. It's a specific type of woman that's moving here to this continent. So we got to talk about those women if we're going to have this conversation. We're not the average chicks. I'm just saying.
So let me ask you, the men there, how do they treat the local women?
So African American men here, how do they treat the local women?
The African men in Tanzania, how do they treat their local women?
From what I see, we get the same treatment. From what I see. And I'm speaking of like, I have, drivers, and they're not my drivers, but sometimes I ride with them. You know what I mean? Drivers who are married, noticing their interactions with their wives, they like love and respect their wives and kids. Like that's all that I've seen, I have seen some other examples, you know what I'm saying, of some married men who trying to hit on me and stuff like that. However, I was never put in a situation where I was made to feel unsafe. And once I said, back up, I don't want you. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Backed on up. So, I don't notice a difference in treatment, to answer your question.
Tiffany, can you give me a specific example, like in America, that you were in where you felt unsafe? Like, can you give me?
I could give you many examples.
Okay, give me one. Give me one or two.
I'm gonna give you. I'll give you like a tiny example, and I gave this example online recently, and here's an example for you. I want to tell you the example, and I also want to give you a response. Okay, so a response that I got from someone who says they are a Black American man. Okay, so I maybe like 2 or 3 weeks before I left here, and again, I just want to emphasize that this is like the least traumatic experience that I've had where I felt unsafe. because I'm not about to, this is not no therapy session. You know what I mean? Ooh, I sounded country, therapy. Ooh. Okay. So when like 2 or 3 weeks before I came here, I was getting the place where I live at fumigated, and it was like a white guy that an old white guy that was fumigating. Of course, he came in with a mask on because coronavirus, and on his way out, he just like saw a pair of my shoes. He was like looking at me like this in the eye, like what you gonna do, what you gonna do, and like stepped on my shoes and kicked my shoes, and then he
Are you serious?
left. Yeah, I'm dead ass. Like that's what he did, you know. That's an instance where I felt a tiny bit unsafe because if this man had tried to do anything else besides like kick my shoes around my little foyer, then who would have been there for me? I did know my neighbors, you know what I'm saying? Like we say hey to each other, but it's not like they can hear me, you know, or that they would come to my rescue. And outside of that, who else would come to my rescue? Like even in the place where I lived, when I would see other black men, like I would be carrying my trash cans. See, just so if y'all are single women, I hate taking out the trash. But anyway, I'm taking out the trash, got this heavy, heavy bag. This car pulls up to the trash can as well. And it's two black men in the car. They're throwing away trash too, both of them. They go to the trash can and it was like a door to open the trash can. And like they closed it like, you know, right as I'm there. I'm right behind them. And they turn around and they say, "Oh, my bad," and hop back in the car. Then you try to open the door for me. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, I'm there with two heavy bags, a woman by myself. They closed the trash can door thing and was like, "Oh, my bad." Didn't even try to like open it back. To me, that's like, bruh, how you not even gonna open the door? But going back to the story about the man fumigating, I told that story the other day on the African Tigress channel, and this person in the comments, I don't know who he could be because you know people on the internet, you don't know who that is really, but claimed to be a black man and commented, "This sister is sitting here trying to convince us that having somebody step on her shoes makes her feel unsafe. Black women get on my nerves, always complaining about saying that they're unsafe when my problems as a black man in America are way more intense and way more harsh. I wish all black women would just leave the United States and go to Tanzania like she did." So I'm just saying that like those are the kind of comments that I tend to hear from some, not all black men. And when I was just going about my life in the United States, my whole life, it was rare that I would meet men who would do simple things like opening the door for me, seeing me carry heavy stuff. Like even that, like that's something that's so simple, but I just didn't even, that wasn't something that I got. But it's something that I always saw Becky getting from black men. That's something that I saw, you know, and something that I noticed, and I know it's something that probably other people notice too. Now, I'm not talking about every single black man, please. I'm not, because I love my brothers. I'm just saying that that's like a typical experience as a single woman to go throughout your life and feel like you don't have any help or support, especially from men. That's just something that I noticed. Not every man, but the average. The average.
Okay. Guys, we're going to open up the lines here in about 12 minutes. We are going to open up the lines in about 12 minutes, you guys. So please hit that like button. And in the email is going to be Uhuru at searchforUhuru.com, Uhuru at searchforUhuru.com. Everyone, let's see what kind of comments we got in the chat room. So how's Tanzania been going, Tiffany? How's it been going?
Tanzania is beautiful. It's been so hot, but not as hot as like summers in the South, honestly. It gets hot here, late 80s. It hasn't even reached 90 yet, but it's been raining a lot the past couple of days. So it's rainy, but it's beautiful still.
Have you been to Zanzibar yet?
Yes, I actually went like the last time I was on your channel, I was going a few days later. That's why I was like, yeah, I'm planning to go soon.
Did you catch
It
the
was
ferry over? Did you catch the ferry over Paz or did you fly?
I caught the ferry.
Okay. Well, them
Yeah.
dudes, like, so when I remember when I went and I caught the ferry, I
Mhm.
told myself I'll never catch the ferry again. Like, it was kind of depressing. Like the way,
You
because I had my bags with me.
Mm-hmm.
How desperate like the bag boys were to carry my bags for a tip,
Mm-hmm.
kind of depressing. Like I was kind of depressed just how like thirsty they were and how desperate they were to carry my bags for a small tip. It was kind of depressing. Like just the faces they were
Really?
making and like they're yeah. I said I couldn't do it again because like literally I hopped out my cab and like
Yeah.
20 bomb rushed the cab. I was like, "Golly."
Yeah.
I never experienced. But see, it was weird. Like everywhere else in Africa, I never experienced that.
Oh, okay.
Tanzania, man. Oh my God. Just to go get my ticket to catch the ferry and like 20 of them just bomb rushed my cab. I was like, golly.
Mm-hmm. Well, you were saying, did you have that snakeskin leather bag that you were talking
No, 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 that's before this. That's before this. That's before this.
about? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, that's way before them. So I've asked this before, but for those
Yeah.
who haven't, who are new, why Tanzania?
Why Tanzania? A large part was because I'm hearing an echo. What is that?
No, you're good. Go ahead. There's a little echo, but you're good. Go ahead.
Okay. Largely, I was on my way here to the continent, not specifically to Tanzania in the very beginning. However, once coronavirus happened, I was looking for a place that I could go where I perhaps did not have to take a coronavirus test.
Right.
Um, and at the time, Maggie Foley went with that. And so I was like, I'm going there because the idea of somebody sticking that long, like Q-tip all the way down. I seen videos of this guy like getting it done and he was like in tears and I was like, I can't. So that was like a large reason for me choosing Tanzania specifically. Because I honestly this wasn't the country that I had done tons of research on. So I just came here because it seemed like the best fit at the time, and I was just ready to go.
Okay. Cool, cool, cool.
Yeah.
So, guys, we're going to open up the line so you can call in and ask your question. Send me an email, uhuru at search for uhuru.com, uhuru at search for uhuru.com. And, guys, hit that like button. Please hit the like button again. Please hit the like button. So, when are you coming back to America?
When you buy my ticket,
Uh,
y'all know that meme where that lady's like. Other than that, I really, it's not really in my plans. It's not really in my plans.
okay. Okay. I don't blame you.
Mhm.
You're not missing nothing over here. You are not missing anything over here. So, any other reasons outside of protection do you think, and we'll get some more opinions of Black women who are on the continent as far as Black women moving to the continent though, in the numbers that they are.
I mean, other reasons I just feel like a lot of us feel that have been called spiritually. Like I
Mhm.
know of women who've had all kinds of dreams and that they tried to ignore, dreams that were like pointing them here, and they kept trying to ignore it. And then once they made the decision to come here, one in specific that I'm thinking of, she made the decision to come here, and then the dream stopped. And since she got here, everything has been just like flowing for her. And that's for like a lot of the men and women that are here. In our conversations when we're talking to each other, we're just like, we can't even describe in words here on the internet what it is that called us here. But then we got here and everything just started aligning and flowing in a way that it never has before. So I really just feel like we're being called here, not just like I gotta go, I'm not being protected, I'm out. That because if that was the case, I probably would have came in, when I was much younger.
Okay. Oh, someone's asking in the chat room, as far as residency, have you went through that process yet, or are you still operating on a visa?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm not. I don't have residency here yet.
Okay. And then you got your own place now, don't you?
I do. Yes, yes, I
Okay.
do.
Okay.
Hmm.
Now tell us about your place. You know, the mansion, the 5 bedroom, 6 bath with the maid's house. You know, tell us about it.
I wish, but no, it's not. It's not that yet. Um, It is, it's a cute little place in a cute little area. That's all I can say really. One thing that is nice if you come here, there's options to like find places that are already furnished in case you don't want to go get your custom furniture made.
You
Um,
can, and that's then people. You can get like nice furniture custom made by the carpenter.
mhm.
Go ahead.
Yeah. But in case you don't want to do all that and you just want to find a place from jump, there are places that you can find that have like really nice furniture. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it is that you want, you can find it. Whatever it is you want, you can get it made. And so you can make your home look beautiful. And I think that's like important, especially if you are a woman. I really think that's important for you to just feel like the queen of your palace. So you gotta get on that. And that's how my place feels. I still got a lot of things I gotta buy to like make it more me, like some art and stuff to put on the walls. But other than that, it's just a cute little 2 bedroom little, situation.
A little situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Situation. Guys, Queen Key, I sent you the link. In fact, I think you're in Tanzania, Queen Key. Have you hooked up with a lot of sisters out there, repats from America?
Yeah, yes, a lot, a lot, a lot, and there's more coming.
Uh-huh.
Something that I started doing is like helping people find housing because this was the like most difficult part I think of the transition, just because there's a whole lot of reasons, but finding housing is the most difficult part of moving
Why?
here
Why?
to
Why
Tanzania.
is that?
Well, it's sort of because like there are not many requirements for who can become a Dalali. Like anybody can do that. You know what I'm
Delali.
saying?
Yeah.
Which is like a real estate agent.
Oh, that's all over Africa. Yeah, you can pretty much
Yeah.
just. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
Right, right, right.
so and a lot of people are just not really trying to find people homes, but trying to just get a little fee every day for showing people homes. So you
Right.
know what I'm saying?
Got
So they
you.
won't show you what it is that you want. They'll show you what it is that they know, and then show you for like a week or two, just so they can keep collecting that money from you. And that's not everybody, but that's some people. And a lot of us here have run into people like that. So it's better to go through people that you know, so that you can be sure that you don't get the runaround and that you get fair pricing. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You know, your cousin's out there trying to
Oh my.
hustle. Yeah, your
Oh my.
cousin. Your
Okay.
cousin. Your cousin. Let me charge
Uh-huh.
the let's see. Your Queen Key is in the chat room.
Okay.
Go ahead, Queen Key.
Oh,
Hey, hi,
you're
Dinus. Good to
pretty.
see you again, Dinus. Hi, Tiffany.
Hi. You're so pretty.
Oh, really? I feel a hot mess. Thank you.
Girl, stop.
Thank you so. Dinus, you remember me?
Yeah, you came on last time.
Yes.
Uh,
Guess
are you
where I
in Tanzania
am?
now? Are you in Tanzania now?
I'm in Tanzania.
I knew you was because I see that remote on the wall in the back. I
Yeah.
knew you were.
Well, you
That's
know
that
what?
AC remote.
You know what? I'm just glad they left it in here.
Yeah.
This is my Airbnb. So yes, I am
Okay.
here. I love it. You don't know how happy I am to be
See?
here. Like
Yeah,
so happy.
Karibu. Yeah.
So happy. I just want to say that Tiffany, I love you and I thank you so much for like just being a pioneer and doing what you're doing. You, Kat,
Oh,
and
dear.
so many others. Like I really appreciate it. Thank you. And just for
Oh,
being
thank
authentic. I
you.
don't like, you know, I can appreciate the authenticity, and just being you, being who you are. And yeah, so it just means a lot. It really does.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. How long are you here?
I moved here.
Get it, girl. Get it.
Like I sold everything, my car, everything. Everything's gone. I have nothing else in the United States but family.
Yeah, yeah. Did you you should DM me on Instagram or find some way to get in touch with me.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
If you
I'll do the introduction on email. Y'all could, you
okay,
know.
cool.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
Quick,
So I
are you?
wanted to touch a little bit on the topic.
Yes.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Everything Tiffany was saying is pretty much correct, or at least I resonated with it. I don't want to say right or wrong because everybody is entitled to how they feel, but I resonate very much with Tiffany. There's a lot um, that I can say about like just growing up as a woman, as a Black woman in the States, born and raised in South Florida. There's a lot I've seen, a lot, and there's a lot of ways that I feel about men, my African American men specifically. Now, I want to say this. I love my kings and my queens, and that's what I kind of promote on my channel, like my royal family. I see so much value in us. I would never talk down on the Black man or the Black woman, no matter where they are in this stage in their life, because everybody has to grow, right? You have to give everybody a chance to live and get to their fullest potential, if they're blessed enough to reach it in this lifetime. But as a woman who, I was in a 6-year marriage, and I suffered from domestic violence, issues.
I'm so sorry.
So say no, not at all. I'm not in victim mode, not at all. I already, from the spiritual perspective, it doesn't even bother me. Like what I'm talking about, Tiffany. So with what you attract, the vibration, all of that. So I'm not really worried about that. Safety is very important, and I think even one of the things in marriage, growing up in the church, I am no longer religious anymore. I am a spiritual being.
Oh, the church is the worst. The church is the worst. Safety at the church.
Oh gosh, please tell me.
Church is the worst.
subscribing to the scriptures and what it meant to my union at that time, because we followed that Bible a lot. And it's not to talk down the Bible. I'm not trying to get the chat room stirred up. It's just that I subscribe to that, being the whole submissive wife and this and that and obedient and God fearing, and things kind of still happen. Safety is important to us. I was always told that women want love and men want respect, and the most that women want, especially out of a marriage, is security, and that's in all aspects. And so I have lacked that a lot in my life, whether it was in my marriage, prior to my marriage, not having the father figures and all of that. So I understand how, a lot of women in America can feel. Now, thank God that's not the reasons for me being here. The reasons for me being here, I was spiritually led here. I was called. I told you about that last time, Dinus, and kind of what happened to me and how this move was supposed to happen later on next year, but it happened earlier because I was prompted to get the hell out while I still could. So I just want everybody to just respect everybody's opinions and values, and understand that, when we women are speaking about safety or feeling secure, that it goes deeper. So, but yeah, I don't want to get too much into that, but I just wanted to say that I resonate wholeheartedly with a lot of things that you said. And we are not the average women. The women who come out here, we're not, not to say that we're above anyone else, because I definitely don't like to speak on myself like that. I am not above anybody else. But the mindset in which we find the sense of urgency to come to the continent, because we know that healing is here, home is here. The spirit of our ancestors are more, more present and more strong. That takes a different type of thinking. That's all I'm saying. So
yeah.
That's it.
You want to respond? You want to respond? Lou Major's on.
Yeah, I mean, everything that she said, I would have said exactly like everything that she said about her reasoning for being here. And I think, sometimes what happens when we're talking about like Black women feeling protected is a lot of times when we do speak up about not feeling protected, a lot of people will be like, yeah, y'all always talking about y'all don't feel it. It's hard to understand unless you hear stories from women one-on-one stories, not here on the internet, because I'm sure we wouldn't be sharing traumatic experience, the details of our trauma, like here on the internet. But I would prompt, or I would encourage anyone who has questions about why Black women might be going or how they don't feel protected to just ask Black women without criticizing. Like, ask with the intention to listen, not to respond. And you might learn something that you've never, ever heard before in your life. Because most of us have stories that you wouldn't even believe, even like the happiest, smiliest of us, you know? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Lou Major.
He's on mute, or she.
I got unmuted. My bad. Go ahead, Lou Major.
First of all, it's I want to say it's a pleasure to meet both you ladies, and I want to say I'm very apologetic for the terrible experiences that you have both had. I also want to actually fully acknowledge that what you're saying is true. I don't think Black women are receiving the proper protection that they should be receiving, and that is definitely wrong. Um, what I'll also say is one thing that needs to happen if we're going to have a fruitful, conversation in the sense of us heading towards a resolution, right? Not just simply the airing out of grievances. I do think that there needs to be a two-way kind of conversation, right? In the sense of we need to understand what's happening to you, which is terrible. I think I don't think people really fully understand what's happening to Black men, but we at least know it's pretty bad, right? We just don't know how bad. I don't think Black women fully grasp how bad it is, but they do know it's bad. And I do think that then we need to ask, how did we get here in the first place? And then how do we solve the problem? So I think everybody who's talking here is in the same age range, in the sense in the between 30s and 40s. So we all, really grew up in that time. I do think, so you guys will understand some of the reference points that I'm going to point to here. But I think the first thing that needs to be understood is in terms of the male-female relationship, I think we need to come to some agreement of terms. So I'm going to ask you ladies a question. Would you agree that a relationship between a man and a woman, or a man and several women, or whatever that might be, would you agree that it is inherently an exchange? As in, I give you this, you give me that. Obviously, there's some emotions to it, but ultimately there's an exchange where both are kind of giving to the other. Would you agree with that?
To clarify, do I agree that in a relationship, a woman gives to a man and a man gives to a woman? Is that what
Of
you're
course,
asking?
yeah, an exchange. Of course. Would you agree with that, my queen? Good. So ultimately, we all know that, like, for example, what do men kind of demand from women? What is the number one thing that men complain about when it comes to Black women and Black men, which is like femininity and submission? Like, Black men are always complaining about Black women not being sufficiently feminine or submissive. And I would say to those Black men, well, for a woman to be able to be submissive and for a woman to be feminine, she needs to feel that she's in the presence of masculinity, and you have to create an environment for her to do that, right? So she gives you her femininity and submission in exchange for your masculinity and leadership. So it's not free. She's not going to just be feminine and you're indecisive and unable to provide and protect for her. If you're providing and protecting for her, then she can be submissive and she can be feminine. But if you're not providing and protecting her, right, then she has no real reason to be submissive to you or feminine. Would you agree? Would you agree with that?
I would say that I definitely agree with that. I think the sucky moments that I had in my past is still having to remain feminine and submissive, even when I was violated in some of the worst ways. Because I was, one, subscribing to scripture in a deity or whatever God above or Godhead, and just trying to understand that, okay, this person has a issue, whether it's a mental anger, whatever issue. So my job is to love unconditionally, no matter what. So, but yeah, I agree.
And by the way, I should point out that if somebody is violating you in any way, shape, or form, that man is obviously not worthy of submission, right? He's not worthy of femininity because he
You're
is not
absolutely
fulfilling
right,
his
but
duty, right?
you're
Right?
right. I tell you what, when I used to present that to my elder leadership, I wish they said some of the things that you would say. I bet if you were one of the elders, I know you're not into that, but if you were an elder with the type of mindset that you have, that I know you to have, I've been watching you, and you know, I'm sure you wouldn't have told me the things that were told to me by those elder
No, I would have
leadership.
probably had the ex-husband killed, but that's not relevant, right? Here is what is relevant. So here's the deal, though. Protection from men, right? Like, for example, as you pointed out, other races of women get protection from their men, right? And then you also notice that our brothers, and again, I'm not defending brothers here. I'm gonna get into this too, but and our brothers, those same brothers who won't provide protection to black women will then provide protection to other women, which is wrong. But what I am gonna say is what we have to acknowledge though is that protection isn't free, right? So you get protection from men, which means men protect you at risk to themselves in exchange for something, right? It's conditional. So the man is going to provide for you and protect you, right? In exchange for your femininity and submission, right? However, can we acknowledge that not all black women, but there is a general trend within the black community in the United States of black women not really struggling with the area of submission?
See, where I'm having a little confusion here is that the examples that you are giving are all speaking of within the context of a romantic relationship, and I don't think that the conversation was specific to that.
No, no,
I feel where you're coming from, but
go
like
ahead.
we're not just talking about romantic relationships here. And I don't think when we're talking about, because we have brothers, we have fathers, we have male cousins, and I don't think that like, you know, I mean, I just don't think it's limited to a romantic.
I'm actually not talking about. I'm talking about community, the community itself in terms of how it functions. I use a romantic relationship because that is the most obvious, right? But in general, men in every community protect their women, right? In exchange, the women in said community serve and are submissive and feminine and nurturing to their men. So there's an exchange, right? Now, obviously, that manifests itself in a more direct way in a relationship, but we can also acknowledge we have to, for us to get to the issue. I want you to understand that I'm agreeing with you, but for us to solve it, we got to understand what's happening, right? And then and I don't want in the end it's gonna be like, oh, it's all women's fault, because it's not. But we got to understand exactly what's happening. So, can we acknowledge? Now, this is not all women. For example, you two are probably not like that. But can we acknowledge that within our community, culturally, right, our women struggle with the area of submission and femininity?
I don't know that to be true.
Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and talk about when we were growing up. How often did we hear the term from our women, I don't need no man. I'm a strong, independent woman. I don't need no man.
Probably
Or,
not more than we hear fuck like money over bitches. You know what
yeah,
I'm
of course.
saying?
Of
The
course. That's
culture,
right.
and we're talking about music culture, we're talking about media and all these things that influence our culture heavily, and it's definitely on both sides. But I just feel like that we can't use those things as an excuse when we know better. And I don't think that, this is just my personal opinion, I don't think that that kind of change is going to happen like for all of us. I think it just takes like on an individual level to have those conversations with the people in your life, to share those stories with the people around you, so that those people that you know and trust can get a better understanding of the situation, and we can, as families or individually.
I'm not making an excuse.
I'm
I'm not
sorry.
making an excuse.
Go ahead, my bad. You can speak. What is that?
I'm sorry, but I need you to understand that I'm not. Go ahead. Go ahead.
You need me to understand what? You can finish because I lost my thought now. What were you trying to say?
I need you to understand that I'm not. I want to make sure you understand that I am in no way making any excuses right now, because here's the deal: the same amount of individual stories that you can share as a woman, or that our queen here could share as a woman, of the negative experiences that she has had with black men, or that you have had with black men. I'm sure that there is a myriad of black men who are listening right now who can share just as traumatic of stories. But
Right.
we don't need
I've
to be
had
focusing.
conversations with those men before. I've had those
Hold on,
conversations with men in my life, and like this
but that's
particular
not
conversation
relevant.
though,
But
is about, but this
that's not
particular conversation is about black women, though. You know what I mean? And that's the only reason that
okay. But
we're
see,
talking about that.
that's not.
That's what
See,
you
here's
can
the deal: if
title.
you do that, okay. But if you say, okay, we're gonna just talk about black men, but here's the deal: if you do that, and we don't have a holistic conversation, then we don't actually get to how do we solve the issue. Because look, black men, listen, I was on a show with Guinness yesterday, man. And
Mhm.
look, if I was a black woman and that was the man that I have to deal with, considering this, I'm just a victim and I can't do anything mindset that a lot of them have. Look, I get it, man. I'm not sitting here saying to you that I don't feel for you. And I know that you guys have heard me repeatedly say, no wonder our women don't respect us. So you know I have a track record here that says I'm on your side. But what I'm also saying is what we're doing right now, where we're saying, well, black men aren't doing this, black men aren't doing that, and then we're not sitting there trying to figure out, but how the hell did this even happen? Right? I don't think that's helping anything. So we have to acknowledge how this is happening, right? Because we can't say that if it was a matter of black men being incapable, then that's just an education issue. But as you have acknowledged in this talk, that you see black men, those same black men, doing it for other women. Now, in my opinion, that's offensive and wrong because I don't think that should happen. However, we should still take a moment to ask, why is that happening? Okay? And we can't just simply chalk it up as, well, black men ain't shit, which is what we tend to do, right? We have to sit there and say, okay, what is it that's happening that's causing that to happen? The same way, our black women will get with men of other races, right? And then they'll suddenly be submissive and they'll suddenly be obedient and they'll suddenly be feminine. The same women who's going to tell you niggas ain't shit, right? So we got to figure out what's going on here. I think black men have to figure out why are women getting on the internet, right, and having huge followings talking to tell people how we're not shit, right? If you need some references, I can give them to you. We got to figure out why that's happening. But we also, on the other side, we also got to figure out how we got here. So if we don't acknowledge the fact that our sisters played a role in this themselves, the same way men have played a role in their problems with our sisters themselves, then that's never going to change. And I could assure you, not you specifically, but if black women leave America and go to Africa with the attitudes that they have in America, they're going to find they're going to be sorely disappointed when they go to Africa because they'll end up single there too, right? So, like, what we have to do is sort out what's happening. Why is this happening? And then we can fix it. And I do think a lot of this, by the way, just so you know, my personal view is a lot of this was due to negative propaganda by external groups and external forces with the objective of keeping black men and women apart so that black people have less kids and to control the black population in general. But
Right.
if we don't take our time to understand what's happening, then the cycle will continue and nothing will change. So I will go back to my initial question. Are you willing to acknowledge that our sisters, for various reasons, struggle with submission and femininity? Are you willing to acknowledge that? Not all.
Already,
You said no. You said you don't want to acknowledge that. But Queen,
or,
do you
no, I
feel
said
like
that's
you could?
not true for me. I said I don't
My
know
point
that to
to
be
you,
true.
you don't know that to be true. Fair enough.
I
So
don't know that.
you don't know that to be true.
Right, from the women that I know, I
So
don't know that to be true because I haven't been in the context of a romantic relationship with those women because women can be, or people can be one way with you as a friend and be a completely different way in the context of a romantic relationship.
can I ask you a question, Tiffany? How
Sure.
would you feel if when you said all the stuff about your experiences would not feel protected? I responded by saying something, or black men responded by saying, "Well, I don't know that to be true because I didn't personally see that, or I've never been in a relationship with a black man, so I don't know if what you're saying is true."
Then that I would let that I would have nothing going on with that. That would be that man's perspective. That's for me.
So then, how does that help us move forward if we're going to go ahead and individualize every perspective based off of what is convenient for us in terms of us making a point? Because we have to. One of the good things about us is that we have a hard time being private, and so black men are very public with the negativity that they say about black women. The same way black women are very public with the negativity that they say about black men. So we don't have to individualize it. We have a lot of data here. But black men say all the time all the negative stuff they say about black women, which is wrong. But black women do the same thing, right? So we
You're
can't
right.
pretend that black women don't get on national TV and say that and bash black men. We can't pretend that doesn't happen. The same way we can't pretend the other side doesn't happen, right? So we really are to individualize it. I don't necessarily think that's gonna solve anything, right? I think that we have to look at what's actually happening, and then we can fix it. If I as a man want you to submit to me as a woman, that means I gotta bust my ass, work my ass off, right, to constantly progress so I can provide for you a good enough life and good enough leadership that you feel that I'm worthy to submit to, right? I have to do that. I have to physically work on my body, control what I eat, so I can sexually satisfy you for a longer period of time. I have to be strong and firm so I can protect you in a physical altercation. I have to not make excuses. I have to be strong, firm in all circumstances. I have to be sure of myself. I have to be a man. There is no excuses, right? Therefore, I am therefore worthy of your submission and your femininity. At the same time, if you want my protection, there's a price to that, to you. Now, if you're not willing to pay that price, then you can't be angry about not receiving the benefit. And that goes for both sides. So if black men are not willing to step up as leaders and lead their communities, right, then they can't be mad about women not being feminine and submissive to them. However, if you as women are going to tell us all the time that we are not a necessary equation to your life, right? That you could do bad all by your damn self, to the point that you even make songs about it on hit records, such as "The House I'm Driving, I Bought It Because I Depend on Me." All the independent women, throw your hands up at me. That was an anthem when we were in school. You remember that, Linus?
Yeah.
Right? And there's a myriad of these anthems. This is part of black female culture. So are we going to pretend that when you're sending that message out to your men, you think that's going to be encouraging to them to say, well, I need to defend these independent women who don't need me? Have you considered that there might be a role that maybe black women, not necessarily you, are playing in the apathy of black men that is unfortunately negatively affecting you? Is that possible?
May I say something, please?
Of course. That's why I'm asking you a question.
Oh, okay. Well, no. Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't know if that question was for me or Tiffany, but I
It's
guess
for
it's
both of you. It's for
us.
everyone.
Okay, for everyone. Well, speaking on that, I mean, that just makes sense what you would say. I understand the messages that will be put out. Um, the message that was put out with that song or any other similar songs, I can definitely see how that doesn't motivate the man to want to be submissive to the woman. You know, I get that. I'm not going to sit here and say I don't get a lot of what you said or resonate with a lot of what you said. It definitely makes sense coming from kind of how you're wording it. I want to say this though, as to like why I'm on here or why I even came on and spoke about just the topic of security and mentioned very briefly uh, something that happened to me in the past. It was just for that topic. I do want to say that I do agree with you as far as, you know, like how do we move on? How do we solve this? How do we talk about how do we get here? I can't say that I have all of those answers, but as far as moving forward, one of the things that I'm fortunate enough to have happened to me is I've been working on or doing what you would call, I guess, shadow work or trauma work, or like, you know, working on a lot of the traumas that have happened to me since childhood, and even some of the things that might have happened to me in the recent past years. And so, which is why I don't have this outlook or this, yeah, like a negative outlook on Black men. I love my Black men. I think they're kings, and my Black women as well. I just feel as if we all knew our power, if we knew our worth, and if we just knew who we are as melanated beings, as the original people, you know, and who we were, who our ancestors were, it would just naturally flow. You know, we would love and respect and honor one another as we should. And I think that a lot of us don't really know who we are yet. And so what I try to promote, you know, with family, friends, you know, on my channel, people I meet, is especially my melanated beings, you know, that we are royalty. You know, that's what we are. And just to promote healing, to promote love and self-worth. And also, I want to say this. I had a conversation with a young man who's also here in Tanzania. And this was the first conversation I had with someone who was just so raw and so real. And he had a lot to say about the Black woman, talking to a Black woman. And at first, I started, you know, I felt these feelings of offense come up, like, oh my gosh, like, what is he saying? Or that's not everybody, or, you know, but then I had to stop and I had to listen and I had to analyze it from a spiritual perspective and say, okay, this is very real to him. And, you know, a lot of his observations or his opinions come from his observations from his geographical location where he was born and raised. And, you know, a lot of the traumas that he may have been through, he has experienced with the Black woman. And so it was not for me to judge him, but to listen and understand. And by the time we were done with that conversation, his outlook on the Black woman may have changed slightly. And he was just so grateful to have someone listen to him, you know, the same species he's talking about, listen to him and understand him. And I think that's what it is. A lot of us have traumas. A lot of us have things that needs healing, and it's on both sides. Absolutely. So definitely not to bash the Black men. I love my kings. I love my queens. But relative to this topic, I think that's what, you know, the dialogue between me and Tiffany and Dynasty, where it came from. But I understand both sides, and I appreciate, you know, everything you said, Lou Major, as well as you, Tiffany, for sure. I hope that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. For me, I'm frankly, I frankly am embarrassed. As a Black man, I am embarrassed by the condition of a lot of our people, and especially our men. I won't sit there and hold punches and pretend like, man, brothers, the stuff the way that we think sometimes and the way that we move, it's embarrassing. And again, I understand why a lot of sisters don't necessarily respect Black men all the time. And I do get it. It's this self-defeating, I can't do anything, the white man, the white man, the white man. I get it. What I am saying though is, since we're all sharing experiences, I remember I'm a big guy. I'm a big, tall guy, right? And I've always been harassed by the police my whole life. I mean, I've got some traumatic stories. If I were to tell you, would freak you out. I've had the police put a gun to my head. I've had the police tell me, "You big nigger, if you move, I will blow your fucking brain off out." I've had police pull me out of cars, drag me onto the pavement. I mean, I've had incredible abuse by the police, right? Now, we would all agree that our sisters know that the police, they don't like us. We would all agree with that. And I could honestly tell you that I've been in relationships with sisters where they would say some horribly mean and cruel and abusive things to me. And then whenever I would even raise my voice, because I understand that that could be intimidating, right? But obviously, if you're going to keep saying terrible things to somebody, at some point that person is going to get angry. What do? They call the police, knowing what the police would do or could do to me, right? And I bet you, if you talk to a lot of brothers, they've all got stories like that of their women calling the police on them, knowing, because they're in a fight, knowing what the police would do to them. I bet you know women who's done that or heard of women doing that to their men. Now, we have to acknowledge here that this is not just black men being terrible and don't protect their women. Now, of course, black men don't protect their women, and it's wrong, and it has to stop, and it has to change. But when we just sit there and point the finger at black men as if we are the only reason that this is happening and we just need to change, then I don't think that's going to help you. I don't think, because that's where you get that visceral response from black men, where they say, "I'm tired of these black women saying all this shit," because, as you just said, Queen, that brother who was so angry, by the end of it changed his perspective just because finally somebody listened to him.
Well, yeah, it gave him hope. I won't say it changed his perspective 100% because he's definitely still who he is. I want to ask you this question. I heard you talk about women that call the police, knowing what the police would do to them. In what situation? In any situation, is that what you're saying? And I'm not speaking just specifically because of my situation. I just want to know exactly what you're referring to. Just calling.
So there are a lot of sisters, and they're notorious for this, and it's not all of them. I want to make this very clear that this is not all black women. There are a lot of high quality, really good black women out there. I want to start off by saying that. However, there are a lot of black women who use the police and the justice system and the government in general to bully their significant others.
Okay.
Whether it be actual calling of the police, whether it be
hold on, look, quick. I'll tell you right now, the child family court support system. Oh my God, that right there, I think is leveraged. But Tiffany's our guest. Tiffany, would you like to add to the conversation?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I don't know where to start. I'm just sitting here listening and having a lot of thoughts myself. I don't have anything to say right now at this very moment. I just, I don't think, going back to Lou Major, I don't think that the purpose of this conversation is to bash Black men. And I know that neither me or Queen Key said that we hate Black men or are angry with Black men. I just want to say that because I feel like I heard you say that a few times. That's not what we're doing. That we were just responding to the question that was posed to us, which was specifically about Black women and their experiences regarding protection. I realize that on both sides, there are Black men who haven't felt like their woman held them down, and there are Black women who feel the same way. But in regards to our opening statements, I feel like those were just related directly to the question that was posed. You know, there's no like this level of disrespect to black men because I love black men and I want to marry one day. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not it at all. And I'm sorry to hear about what has happened to you, you know. I do feel in regard going back to what Queen Key said, a lot of times that is what's needed is for us to listen to each other and understand each other's perspective from jump. A lot of times with us, with black people, we tend to get so emotional when we hear anything that sounds like it could be a diss, and we hear the diss, even if that doesn't exist. And I think we need to do a better job overall of listening to each other's stories. And that's what I meant by individually and within families, because it's great that we're having this conversation and this dialogue live on YouTube, but what are you doing in your real life? Like how, like asking myself the question, how can I support the black men around me? How do I support them? By asking them what it is that they need from me, the people who are right directly around me. You know, and the kind of feedback that I get from most men that I meet, they're just like, I never even, so I can, to answer your question, I have heard men say this, like, I've never had anyone to allow me to finish a thought in this area. Because like I said, the emotions come up anytime we have this title is provocative of this conversation. So a lot of people will come into this conversation already mad because of the title, even if none of us ever said, I hate black men. We don't even have to say that. But just from the title and the experiences that we have had that we've never gotten a chance to express and never gotten a chance to hear the gender that we want to listen to us actually listen to us, it charges the emotion. And I feel like that's a good starting place when it comes to having these kind of conversations, is one, making sure that we allow every single person who we ask a question, and I'm speaking directly to you on this, Lou. This is just like a gentle correction. You've asked questions of both of us, and then when we started to speak, you just cut us right off, right? So it doesn't, for me, that doesn't put me in a position to want to listen to you and allow you to complete a sentence, because you wouldn't let me do the same thing. Also, I feel like some of the questions that you asked to us, you had an answer already in your mind that we were supposed to give you. And by not giving that answer, that activated your emotions even more. That's something that I'm seeing from you. So that doesn't put me in a position to want to have this sort of like loving conversation where I actually am giving you all of my femininity. And I know that a lot of the things that you have been through have charged you so much. I'm just saying, I think a good starting place for us when we're having these conversations is for us to sort of try to push the emotion away so that we can just talk about what's going on without the emotion. Because when you add in the raising of voices and the cutting people off, that's when you get that clash. That's when you get that clash. And I don't think that is helpful if we are being examples to other people watching about the dynamics between black women and black men. Like, we have to, even though we're here having a conversation, we have to always know that us being public, that we are being examples of whatever it is we're being examples of. So those are some of my thoughts that I was having while y'all were speaking.
Tiffany, if you felt like you were cut off, that certainly wasn't my intention. Can you give me an example of when you thought that I did that?
Lou, let's
Can I get greetings? Can I? I'm sorry.
well, hold on 1 second. Tiffany, you wanna respond to that or no?
I mean, it was earlier. I was checking the comments at a certain point, and other people noticed it too. So it's not just me.
Hold on. Who's calling me? Stop calling me. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, I'm just, and like I say, I'm not coming at you in any tone with emotion. I'm just telling you what it was, and I know it wasn't your intention, but I just know it was the emotion that was charging all of that. That's all I'm saying. You know, I know you're not trying to intentionally disrespect us. I know that you're trying to have a conversation, But if we can pull some of those emotions away, then I think we can really have the kind of conversation that will move this topic forward.
I mean, I do want to say that I'm not particularly emotionally attached to this issue, per se anymore, because I'm married, right? I'm married to Black women, so I mean, but none of my wives are American, right? And there's a reason for that. But what I'm saying to you is that what I'd like to see happen in general is for us to solve the issue. Because for me, I see these conflicts between Black men and Black women as very solvable issues where both sides are going to have to make some serious changes in character. But we cannot begin to solve these issues until we start just being honest about them. So if you've noticed, I've not taken Black men off of the hook. I've said Black men are not doing this, are not doing that, are not doing this. So I'm acknowledging the issues that you as Black women have with Black men. What I'm saying is Black women, not just you, but Black women in general, have to acknowledge what might be the role that they're playing that may be leading to the result that they're getting. And if we don't, if black men and Black women don't acknowledge the roles that they're playing in the condition, then none of this will be possible. Because I say this, and I know that there are Black men listening to this or will listen to this afterwards, who will say, and I am, by the way, I'm very disappointed in my brothers right now that I am the only man who is called in. We've had 3 women calling.
Well, no, but Lou, there's people in the queue, and then also too, I want to get
that it is particularly frustrating that there are a lot of Black people, if you talk, who sometimes outright feel that our women hate us.
Dinah, Lou, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude. I don't, because Lou Major and Tiffany, Dinah, do you mind, please? Can I?
Go
because I Tiffany, greetings to you, Empress. Greetings to you, Empress Queen. Is it Chi or Key?
It's Key. My name's Kiara. So
Key.
it's Key.
Kiara, okay, Empress Queen. And Dinah, share Lafiani. Adupwe Moadada. Lou Major, my brother. I'm gonna ask that you all just be very, very patient with me because I'm having more of a spiritual moment here. And I just want to start out by saying, again, please be patient. People waiting, but these shows can be short or long. Let me just get all of this out because I'm seeing everything from multiple perspectives and also from a very realistic life experience point of view too. Before I go into it, Dinus, could you please, because I know how Lou is, but could you also tell Lou how I speak of him so that he doesn't get the wrong opinion or wrong interpretation when I start to speak? Because Lou, I'm just going to speak raw, but it's not an attack to any of the ladies or you. Okay. But can you just vouch for me how my thought process about Lou?
No, just go far from out. Just go ahead.
Okay. So Lou Major, I always say that I have a lot of respect for you because you speak the truth. You speak your truth. And in the past, I've said to you, sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Okay. But tonight, I'm actually in agreement with what you're saying and how you're saying it, just as much as I'm in agreement with the ladies on the panel. And the reason why I'm saying this is that, and someone made the point as I was thinking, we both have to remember our thought processes as male and female, the intuitive, right-minded versus the logical thinking, left-minded. Lou, what you're speaking of is your experience and that of maybe the experience of many other men based on conversations. So because that's what tends to happen. We get around people that have similar experiences and we talk about things and, then, oh, yeah, me too. And yo, she did this and that. And let's go back to the original question. Just give me a chance to touch on everything because there's so many points that were mentioned on both sides. Back to why women are moving to Africa. Both of you guys have made some very keen points. Now, for the reasons that were spoken about how men are and what women need or look for, it's simple. That's why we've moved. It's not just about men, but where men are concerned. That is why we moved to Africa. Overall, because there are a lot of feminine ones walking around here now. I'm not happy about it, but overall, the Black African man, the continental African man, is more masculine, typically. There's more of a sense of community and family orientation. The men here still know how to properly address women. They know how to approach, well, for the most part. It depends. Sometimes they can be very aggressive, but they stand up for what they want. They go after what they want. They still have the nature of the prey, go after the woman, the chase factor. They court, they still have a naturally, instinctively, like a protective manner about them. So if you're in a crowd or you're around them and something goes down, whereas I've seen so many times, and it is not all. And I'm speaking for the ones that have had a little bit too much indoctrination or soy or whatever you want to say it, whatever category. Danger will meet us and the guy goes taken off. He puts himself first. That doesn't happen so much in Africa. As far as the relationship aspect goes, Lou, it is not all women that have a problem submitting to men and being feminine with men. And that's another reason that we come to Africa, because that feminine, the true feminine woman is looking for true masculinity. She's naturally going to gravitate or head to where she thinks she may find that. It's a magnetic a magnetic pull. It's just the way the universe works. It's natural. So what I'm finding, and based on the women that I'm communicating with, and some very feminine women who will not settle for anything less than a man. Those are the women, amongst other, they're not just for men. There are other, like Tiffany said, there's a certain kind of woman that is trodden off to Africa, and most of us haven't even visited before. You can actually separate them. The type of women that just get up and go. Like I said, it's a magnetic pull. It's universal. It's cosmic. There's a shift that is happening, and grounding is absolutely necessary right now. The first comment that I made in the chat was, excuse me, as to why women are coming back to Africa. I said, source, Mother Earth, connecting with divine feminine. We're coming back to source, Mama Africa. Okay, is everybody following me? Like, am I making any sense? Am I sounding too deep or crazy or anything? So,
no, you good.
Right. So thank you. When we are coming here, there's certain things that Africa in itself overall is feeding us with that we're not getting from overseas, and we're not getting from not all, but the majority of the men there. Sadly, both man and woman on the continent here, the continental, my children are going at it. You guys, if you have children, don't judge me. They're gonna work it out. That's sibling stuff. Okay, so what's happening is that there's a lot of westernization going on here, and the colonial stuff has, done a number. But those of us who have remained connected or have reconnected, okay, we know what's really at the core of things. We know what's in the essence of this soil, of this cosmic energy here. the men here, for the most part, you know what I'm saying? Because we're in source, there's certain things that just haven't been lost. And at no fault of the American woman or the, give me a moment. You guys talk if you want to. I have to go and intervene right quick. If anyone wants to speak on what I've said, um, go ahead, but I can't let them continue like that. This is unusual. So I'll be right back.
Okay. Go ahead,
I
Tiffany.
think something important that she said at the very beginning that I caught, and I was like, oh, that's good, is that when we have certain experiences in our relationships or whatever the cases are, we tend to come into contact with other people who have had similar experiences. And then we say, so if I dated, and let's give the example, I think maybe that Blue Major was giving earlier about like maybe a group of Black women coming together, dogging out men, because I have experienced that. Okay. And like I said, in my own circles, I try to correct where I see issues. But you hear these women who have all maybe dated 10, 15 men saying that all Black men are this way. That's why I tried to, in the very beginning, say that in my life, that's why I say in my life, because I haven't met every Black man, Black American man, period. And I just think it's hard to generalize and say all. That's why I say in my life. And that's why I kept going back to individual, because these are just the people that I have met. And then the women that I have spoken to who, and we usually tend to connect with people who have had similar experiences as us. And I feel like that's a key component when we're using our words, is to like understand that just because you know 10 and you done dated 10 and you've dated 10, that doesn't mean that this is how all Black men are or this is how all Black women are. Like, it's difficult to say that as a whole because we haven't met all the Black women or all the Black men on the planet. We just haven't. We know what our experiences are. We know what the experiences of our friends are, and we know what TV and music says, but that's all we have, you know? And since I've come here, I also just want to point out quickly, and this is the last thing I want to say for now, is that like, since I've come here, I've met a lot of Black American men who are very masculine and who have my back, period, in addition to the African men. But around me, the neighborhood that I live in, it's all Tanzanian people around me. There's not Americans like where I live at. So when I made my example, that's, you know, but I've met a lot of very masculine Black American men here as well. That's why I said in response to the question, it was just my experiences. So anyway, she's back now.
What I
Thank you guys. Wait, Lou, I'm sorry.
I'm going to just quickly say this. What I'm saying is that I'm not, the reason I'm trying to steer everybody from doing, well, my individual experiences, my, and I understand why you might want to make it individual. But the reality is what I'm saying is Black American men, and I'm going to specify that this is a Black American issue. Black American men and Black American women have a unhealthy culture when it comes to male-female relationships collectively. And so when you have a culture, it permeates a majority, if I don't want to say everyone, but it definitely permeates in the majority. And so it's going to color your experiences. If you say, for example, well, in my life, it's not like that. Well, you have to understand that that's really kind of irrelevant. I know you would like to believe that your experiences matter, but they don't, right? You are one of 7 billion people. You don't matter that much. What does matter, however, is groups. Because while you're just one person, there are something like 3 billion Black people. And so if we have a situation where 46 million Black people in one particular geographic region have an unhealthy culture when it comes to the women and how they interact with men, and when it comes to the men and how they interact with women, then what we have to be speaking to is that culture and how do we change that? Because, for example, if I had mentioned, I'll direct this to specifically to Tiffany in this case, how it said, well, I don't need no man, I could do fine by myself, blah, blah, blah. And in your response, if I recall, was, well, that's music culture. That's not, and in essence, to kind of sidetrack. Well, that's music culture. Well, what music is a reflection of the general pulse of what those said people believe. Because guess what? You don't see Latino women making songs about how they could do fine by themselves and don't need a man. You don't see Asian women doing that. You don't really even see white women doing that, right? So the only group of people that are making music and cultural references as to how much they don't need their men are black women. In the reverse, you don't see black men are making these women ain't shit but hoes and tricks, which is wrong. Well, you don't see white men making music about how they women ain't shit but hoes and tricks. You don't see that in Asians. You don't see that in anywhere else. So that's a negative. That is a reflection of a toxic, poisonous culture. And so one reason why this reflects back to the original question is one thing that I think a lot of black women and black men, but more so black women today, who are craving male protection and male leadership are saying, well, if I could just go to this place, then I'm going to get that male protection. If I go to, if I go to another race, if I go to another country, if I go here, then I'll get male protection. And what I'm saying is, no, you won't. You'll just get rejected more grievously if you don't adjust, because what's causing you to not get the male protection is because you, not all, but a lot, subscribe to a toxic, unhealthy culture when it comes to male-female relationships. And unless you reject that culture, unless you reject it and say, that is wrong, I don't want to be part of that, I'm going to go to a different culture and adjust my behavioral patterns, then the same problems you have with black men in America, you're going to have it with African men, or maybe even worse, African men might just, I don't know, like, they just won't, they won't tolerate that, in other words, because now you'll be in an environment where a majority of the women are submissive and are feminine, and you're like the one that's not submissive and feminine, so you just get rejected all over again. And I feel like that is more emotionally traumatizing because you're getting rejected again and again and again.
And let Fafa allow.
All right, go ahead.
Lou, again, this is why I said I wanted to speak for both perspectives, because you're right and you're wrong, and it's the same for the ladies. Okay, and this is why we have so much conflict between the black man and woman in the West. Okay, you are speaking to a vast majority, because we know that the Western world is sick. It's not just women, it is men too. There are things within men that trigger, when you have an illness or some kind of disability or something, then you speak of triggers and episodes. Well, that is for the black man as well as the woman. Now, I understand why. I don't know Queen Kiara. I don't, I need to go subscribe to your channel, but I have shared energy. I've exchanged energy with Tiffany. I've listened to her videos. I've heard her, and I can tell you from my observation on multiple levels, she doesn't fit into that category. Okay. And yes, you're saying you can go to different places, you can go, but okay, this is why she says she's only speaking for herself. There are those of us, men and women, who have been doing, have done, or have begun to do, even if just now, the work to rehabilitate our way of thinking and being. And we're always taught in everything, even in Western psychology. If you want to take it out of culture and go straight to the clinic, they'll go, well, we have to get to the root of this, to the source of this, in order to fix the problem. So, right, men and women alike are coming to the continent as a means of source. This is the point I was trying to make earlier. Not trying to run away. Hence, I spoke to a cosmic energy of pull. This is beyond, sometimes people aren't even aware of it. And another reason why I said I wanted to speak to both male and female is because, just like Tiffany said, she's met some African American men that are very masculine too. And okay, so the question, I think, could have, not should have, but an alternative to the title could have also been, Why are men and women, Black American men and women, moving to the continent? Okay. And so it goes back to reconnecting to our original way of being, the divine feminine and masculine. That's why I said just be patient with me. I see people in the chat saying our problem is we don't listen to each other to be heard. Someone comes on and they start talking and you start chewing them up. I see you guys, but I know where my spirit is, and I see what is before me. Again, I speak to Lou Major being right because he's a man that has clearly experienced the extreme and excessive toxicity from the ill or unwell Black American woman. Clearly, so has Tiffany. Clearly, so has Omoba Adewale. Clearly, so has the Queen Key. Clearly, so have I. For me to have picked me and my solo behind up with my 4 children to come to Africa for the very first time by myself, clearly there's something going on. Whether it is just getting away, trying to be in a different place, thinking we're going to find protection, or whether it's like, okay, I've done my work, I've healed, I've detached from this stuff, or I realized I was never really it, but I've been dealing with the male toxicity, because we always like to talk about the angry Black woman and the toxic male. But it's never, ever, ever one-sided. Ever. It just doesn't work like that. The world does not work like that. So back to trigger points and episodes and all of that. Okay. Yes. Okay. You go calm your sister. My daughter is having a temper tantrum. And so one of my methods after they've been spoken to is they're going to have it out, especially when mommy's doing something, because I'm not going to feed into, that which could otherwise turn into toxicity because I've enabled it, being that I have a young girl. No, you have to go out. Okay, sorry about that. So yeah, I'm multitasking. I'm momming. I could have decided to come off of the show and go and do that, but this is really important. Okay, and I'm gonna tell you right now, my daughter, and I'm saying this out of love, and I'm not trying to throw it. She's a little girl. That's another reason why I came to Africa, because I'm raising little Black boys and a little girl who were coming up in a toxic society. No matter how much I try to instill in them at home, once they go out that door, once they're exposed to everything else, once they watch some toxic television, and the programming on the television is very, potent, which is why I didn't even own a television for years. No TV. Even now I don't, you know.
Okay, guys, hit that. 1 second, Lou Major. Guys, hit that like button again. Please hit the like button. And also, once again, we are going to Sierra Leone, April 21st to the 30th. April 21st to the 30th, we are going to Sierra Leone. So please, if you want to roll with us, send me an email, message me, and you can roll with us. And then also go to dynastymurder.com and make sure you get your books and your merchandise and all that good stuff. Tiffany, you want to add to that, Miss? Queen, because Tiffany's our host, so I gotta.
Right.
No, yeah, I just wanted to say that I have to go. If that's okay.
Okay.
But I just wanted to say thank you to Tiffany. I'm so glad I got to speak with you, and I'm glad we're here in Tanzania together. I hope that we can connect for sure. So I'll definitely make sure I'll DM you on Instagram, I believe. Thank you, Dynas. Thank you, Lou Major. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I already emailed you guys, so you guys have to email.
I didn't mean to interrupt
No,
you.
it's okay. I just want to say thank you to everybody. I hate to pronounce her name, Fafun Milayo, if I said it correctly. Okay. Well, thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much for everything. Thank you all. Thank you for just giving me the opportunity to come and share. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Can I speak or no? Like, I don't want to be inconsiderate, but there's a disagreement between, and clearly, like I'm seeing both sides. So with respect and with permission, can I continue to talk, or is that okay, Tiffany?
That's fine with me.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. I'm good.
Yeah. To the person in the chat that says I need to get off the internet and go and take care of my children, and where's daddy? This is a perfect example. Okay, so I have no problem with saying that, and actually, I'll just say that's another reason why I am in Africa, because I am raising my children alone. And why is actually no one's business. However, I will say to you, because I'm not going to sit on here and disrespect any man that's ever been in my life, but you know, you this is a there's this, everybody is in need of therapy. You haven't heard one word that I said. There's many reasons why we pick up and we make a move to whatever part of the globe it is. Okay. And oftentimes it is therapeutic, it is for healing, or oftentimes it's because we can't take any more of the people that are in need of it, you know. And as to where is daddy, again, I'm not going to disrespect daddy, so I won't speak about that. But you can put two and two together. It's perfect common sense based on the topic and based on me being able to even speak. And speaking of, having the right, or the what is it, the I don't know. But anyway, so we do have the woman that calls the police every time there's an argument. And I'm going to speak to this. We forget that men express themselves in a different way as women. Why is it that we're allowed to start crying and our voice goes all high pitched and we start getting emotional? But when he reacts in a masculine way, which is his voice going lower and and projecting further, then now we want to turn around and say, oh, he's being abusive. Oh, he's yelling at me. You know what I'm saying? Are we being abusive when our feelings are being hurt because harsh words are being said, or he's expressing his feelings and we start to scream and holler? No. So it's like we're out of our element. We're disconnected from our, from each other, not just our own divine selves as masculine or feminine, but with each other. There's a disconnect. You know what I'm saying? And it's like we as women have forgotten. We don't even know how to recognize what masculinity is. It's a misinterpretation. So I understand exactly what Lou Major said, when he said there's an argument, when things are being said and insults are being done. But he now, after asking the woman to stop several times, shouts or raises his voice, and it's just like da, 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 da. That's him expressing his frustration, or the male per se expressing their frustration because they've been provoked to the T. And then because he raised his voice and he sounds like, oh, you want to pick up the phone and call the police because you're scared. That's not fair. It's like, where did we draw the line? Because now we got the legal system and the justice system who already weaponizes, the system is weaponized against the Black man. We don't do any better. And I'm not saying all women, but I'm following you, Lou, just as much as I totally following Tiffany. We do have to stop and individualize and speak for self sometimes. And then we do have to generalize and say we, because we are a one people, we're trying to heal ourselves as a race. But we women, tend to use the gun that they put in our hand to shoot our man down. Pick up the phone, call the police, lie. It's like the Karen syndrome. We got a Shaniqua syndrome. And I'm saying we, not including myself, but I am speaking to the general. And it's not all of us. And I'm going to speak just briefly on something where, I will say a past relationship of mine. This man was so traumatized from the past experiences that he had. Lou, this is for you, because this is going to expound on what Tiffany is trying to tell you. And it doesn't feel good when we're put into a box with all the other toxicity when we know ourselves to be different. But it does exist. Anyway, this particular man was so traumatized by one experience after the next of having the police called on him, okay, by the mother of his own child, and it got to the point where, I couldn't understand how come every time it is that we had an intense conversation, he made sure whether he knew it was going to escalate or not, that avoidance type personality, or being in denial, or just avoiding stuff, just walking, leaving the scene, leaving the building altogether, and then there's no resolve. It's like the woman is standing there like, but honey, come back. Like we have a real, problem like relationships do have that we need to just reconcile and come to some type of understanding on. We don't have to agree, but dude takes off like, pew! Like what happened? And then when things are, neutralized, I'll be like, what happened to you, baby? We're having a conversation. And, like, I really wanted to hear how you felt, because I want to make sure that if I said something that offended you without knowing it, that I make a conscious effort to not do it again. And I just really needed to hear you on that. That's why I confronted you and asked you, oh, no, 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 no. Y'all bitches, all the dirty words, that y'all tricks, y'all everything. And then the trauma starts to reveal itself. You understand? Then you're able to say, if you're a conscious woman or aware, if you are connected and grounded and aware of what's going, then you're able to look at this man and say, he doesn't need me to yell at him. He needs love. He needs for me to prove to him I'm not that one though. And what is it going to take? Patience. But no, the man is still, he won't even hear it. He can't even hear it because he's really traumatized. It's PTSD. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, no. Every time, no. She called the police. My daughter watched me get handcuffed in front of the police. Like, I'm not doing that no more. But wait. But what gave you the impression that I would call the police? No. Every time happens this way, every single time. Well, that says something to the work in him that needs to be done too, because he's attracting a specific type of woman. But it also says to the woman, and he's not attracting on purpose. It's just his fear of that, and it's what he's used to. And maybe it came from mama, and not all mamas, not all of them, but that is a very Western, affliction. We have a lot of mother toxicity that is passed on to the children, which is why the people that are telling me I need to go tend to my children, need to really cool it, because trying the same thing over and over and over, expecting different results, is still raising messed up children, is also the definition of insanity. And I refuse to be a reflection or a representative of that, or a representation of it. So Lou, I know that you understand where I'm coming from, and I know that you're not receiving it as an attack to you. I know that. I can speak confidently about it, because I understand exactly what you're saying. But it is, in Jamaica, they have a saying that said, boy, good suffer for the bad. So there's, so much bad that's going on, or so many bad apples, that when you see a good apple before you, you're scared to bite into it. Is it poisonous? Is it going to put me into a coma? Shit, am I going to get a heart attack from this? Like, I can't, But on the flip side of things, men tend to like to point the finger at the single woman, the single mother, the angry Black woman. But again, let's go back to the trigger points on the other side. There are things that you guys do to provoke us as well. You know what I'm saying? And how we react to that provocation determines whether or not we are truly in our most feminine self. If we have mastered that, or if we're naturally like that. It is her reaction that tells you everything. And neither one can expect to always be right. You know what I'm saying? We're all grown folks here, and we know that it takes a mature mind. And we don't have to agree to love hard on each other. We can disagree very firmly and still look at that man and be like, ooh, I can't wait to have you tonight. Ooh, this is why I love you, because you stand your ground. Even if you don't agree with me, you are confident, And the man does the same thing for a woman who's confident about herself. Dynasty and I had this conversation about confidence all the time. You're not going to have a successful relationship if if the relationship consists of one very insecure, a person lacking self-confidence, or both of them being that way. That's an indication of healing that needs to be done. And we can either choose to take the journey, take the trip, go down the road with them and help them heal only as much as they want to be healed, because then we find ourselves in over compromising situations where we're losing ourselves, where we're getting stressed out, where we start lashing out. But I'll say to it that it is the woman's natural role in this universe to nurture and bring about healing in the family. And it's often why she gets so tired, because she's responsible for healing herself too. Sadly, and it seems unfair, but a woman that cannot heal herself can't heal nobody else. If we don't know how to nurture ourselves, we don't know how to nurture anyone else. What we look to the man for, though, is compassion. While we're taking time out to do that and take time for self, so that we can, revitalize and get replenished to come back. There are things that the man has to do to put back into us so that we can keep going, to be there for you. See how Tiffany spoke to Lou Major when he wasn't emotional. He does get emotional sometimes, but I can tell you, and I've spoken, I've had direct words with Lou in the past, like, it's just how you say it, bro, because I understand you. But tonight, Lou was being a logical man. He was expressing himself passionately. Now, there's women who cannot connect to that will see it as aggressiveness. And sometimes he is aggressive, and rightfully so, and sometimes he's not. And so tonight, he was expressing himself based on his own experience and his own trauma. I've had trauma. I don't think not one westernized person in this chat or on the call can say we've never had a traumatic experience, or a few, whether it be in the family or within relationships, in the workplace, or whatever. I said the last time that I called in, we have to get to the point, whether it be religion and tradition, culture and whatever, male and female, as far as the Black race is concerned, no matter where you are on this globe, outside, it's not always about relationships, but that's the glue. But let me not bleed things into each other. We have to get to the point where we are able to hear each other and listen and process it. You know what I'm saying? And because when we do that, we'll be able to hear when someone is responding to you. Like, I could see all over Tiffany's face, like, this is a topic that maybe I shouldn't be on the camera for right now, because I said some things in a coherent way, in a clear way, but it wasn't received. And I have experienced some things that, you're hitting pretty close to home, and I'm trying to tell you something, but you're not really hearing me. I'm hearing you, but I also have the right to speak for myself as an individual and set myself apart as the regal and royal being that I am, because I am centered and I know what I need, and I'm looking for and waiting for that. And I'm looking for my reflection here on the continent or wherever. And until I find that, I'm going to continue to do the self-work, but I don't like this toxic sounding conversation. That's what I read from Tiffany. Tiffany's like, I know myself. I'm a queen. I'm not going to fit in. I'm not going to put myself in with all of that. I hear you, but I don't want to be a part of the we. And I get that too. We have to be careful with the English language and the spell casting ability that comes with that. It is okay to separate yourself from that when you need to speak on behalf of yourself, because how you were sounding, Lou, and I got you, but how it sounds on the other end is that you're saying, all y'all Black BITCHs in America, y'all this, that, but you're married to how many, 2 or 3 Black women? So you know better. You know that it's not all. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if they're American or where they're from, but I get it on both ends. I get it. I want to say this, and then I'm going to pause for a second. Maybe I won't say anything else, but if I'm asked a question, I'll speak on it, and I'll just whatever. But what I want to say right now is that if we do not focus more on healing ourselves and loving hard on ourselves as individuals, to in turn be able to love even harder on our significant others, so that we can hold the Black family unit together, then the Black race has no chance. Because we are the ones that create the Black race. We keep having babies, right? Black babies, right? We're the ones that nurture them and teach them everything from home. And then they go out into the world and be that which they got from what they saw happening at home. What they got from single mommy, single daddy, mommy and daddy married. It doesn't matter. As parents, we all have a role. So if we can't get it together, when we can't stop eating each other up and bashing each other and beating each other over the head and you and did, we go nowhere as a race. Religion is second. Okay, I've never seen anything more destructive than that. And the traditionalists have some accountability to hold now too, because the stuff is bleeding into it. You know what I'm saying? So with that right now, I'm just going to pause. Lou Major, I have a lot of respect for you because you speak your truth. And, the only issue I ever have with you, not problem, is just And I said it to you, it's just how you say it. But I know that you also don't need to sugarcoat anything. But just bear in mind that we're dealing with a lot of our people who are not well, who don't know how to receive the truth, and it is a learning process. So when you go in for therapy, whether that's music, the friend, the psychologist, the social, whatever, it's you gotta be able to get through to the person. You gotta speak so they can hear you. You know what I'm saying? Um, I don't know about everybody. I'm a Sag. I say what I feel, how I feel. And I try to be tactful, but that was something I had to learn. Tact was something that I had to learn. You know what I'm saying? But I'm one of those people. I just say it, and oftentimes, Dinus, you can attest to this. He'll ask me something, and I'm like, whoa, you got to give me some time. Give me some time. Give me a day or two to figure out how to say this to you in the most respectful way. Process it so I can say it so that it will be received. Am I right or wrong, Dennis?
No, you're right.
It's love. When we take time out to just care about how people receive it, that makes the world of a difference. But Lou, please keep speaking your truth. Tiffany, keep speaking your truth. We all have our own truth. And what I noticed from Tiffany is that even though she was not feeling what was, being said entirely, her response, she took time out to think about how she was going to say what she was going to say, because had she not, the very same words that she said in response to what Lou was saying to her, it could have come off really harsh and disrespectful, even though we know that wasn't it. So it's just, being thoughtful and how we deliver things, especially when we're speaking to our counterparts. See, when we're talking to the men, when the men are talking to the men, you go at it. But once you start talking to a woman who's telling you she is feminine and she functions and she's very aware of her femininity, you have to really go into your true masculine self, the part that complements her femininity. Do you get what I'm saying, brother? And vice versa. We as women, when a man starts going into when he's passionate and his testosterone is on the rise, it's up for us to kick into that full estrogen and maybe even, a little progesterone, to connect with that and be able to interpret properly what is coming at us in order to know how to respond to it. Our femininity is what brings it down. And it worked. And I'm gonna shut up. It worked. It worked. It worked on Lou. It worked in a very respectful way. You guys got to a point where you started to speak to each other.
Okay.
So I'm gonna be quiet. Yes, Dinus.
Okay. Tiffany, anything you want to add? Because
I not at this moment. I'm not sure where to start.
Start. Go ahead and start. Go ahead.
I mean, I'm just listening to her points. I'm just saying there's a lot that has been said. So I'm processing it all. I'm processing it all. That's all I can say right now. If somebody else wants to speak, this, I can say this in response to one thing that she said. And again, a part of my hesitation in speaking is I don't want to be misquoted again. So I'm attempting to choose my words carefully in this conversation because I know this is a very provocative conversation. When I talk about the individual or the use of language, I'm not saying that I'm not a part of the whole, Black people. I'm not saying that, because I definitely mentioned, music in the very beginning and how that affects our culture when me and Dinus were speaking solo. When I talk about the individual, though, I'm talking about the same thing that our sister just said. I don't think it's possible, and I said this earlier as well, I don't think it's possible for us to heal the whole. We can't do that. I think, this is my personal opinion, that we have to start with ourselves and ask important questions to ourselves and heal ourselves. And then we can start to have conversations with the people around us and start to help them heal. And then it can grow from there. I just don't think that we can address the whole healing without first just talking about us as individuals. I don't think that's possible during this lifetime for us to heal the whole without first talking about our own shit that we've been through. And I feel like that's the most important place to start is for us to, take responsibility individually for how we have played a part in for me as a woman, how have I played a part in, hurting Black men? How have I given any trauma to Black men around me? For the men to ask, how have I given trauma to the women around me? And then for us to begin to start having conversations from there. That's my own thought about how we heal and move past this, is that we have to start with ourselves. And that's why I mentioned that with talking to the people around us, because for me, like I said, there's certain things, I'm a very private person, and there's certain things that I'm not willing to share in front of an audience of however many thousand people might see this video. So that's where I'm at. I just feel like we have to start with the individual first, heal our own shit, so then that we don't speak words that say all Black women are this way, all Black men are this way. That's what I mean in talking about the language. And I just don't want that to get I hope that's clear. I try my best to say that in a way that could be clear, but I know that it won't be received by every single person, because every single person is not on my same vibe, just like I'm not on everybody else's vibe. So yeah, that's what I have to say for now.
All right, Lou Major.
Man. All right. So, while this was going on, because I guess I had some time, because I didn't want to cut anybody off. I was being attentive. I actually asked my wife for advice on how to communicate what I'm trying to communicate in a way where it could be understood. Because what started to happen for me throughout this conversation was it started to feel like, okay, I don't think that what I'm saying is that difficult to comprehend from my perspective, but for whatever reason, it's not being understood. And so the advice I was recently given just now was to try to communicate on the same, a more softer, less, the actual word was logical or masculine point of view, and maybe try to be a little bit more, try to touch you from an emotional standpoint. And so I'm going to try that. I'm not good at it, but I'm going to try to communicate an idea in a different way. So for the right brain people, I'm going to communicate my idea the way I would like to communicate it, which is rationally, which is relationships are a two-way street, whether it be romantic or communal. Everything is an exchange, right? I feel like a lot of Black women are moving to Africa because they're trying to escape something in America, which they do need to escape, but then they're also kind of hoping that they could come to Africa and find love, find the protection, find the masculinity that they so desperately crave. I believe that from what I've observed with Black women coming to Africa, and even what was brought up in this talk, one of the top reasons a lot of Black women are coming to Africa versus Black men is because in Africa, they can feel like a desirable woman surrounded by men who are going to chase them and protect them and do all of the things that they are not getting in America. And they like that. And so they come to Africa hoping to get that from a Black man because they're not getting it from Black men in the United States. Black men are less so moving to Africa because Black men don't have the options problems that Black women have, right? So there's always the option for a Black man to just date a woman outside of his race or do other things, right? And because of the man shortage, Black men who would otherwise not qualify for Black women still get Black women because there's just not a lot of choices. So there's less of an urgency for them to leave America and go to Africa because they're going to get access to a smorgasbord of women in the United States in general, while Black women just have less options in general. Especially if you notice the Black women who are moving to the United States, most of them are in their 30s or older. Options are diminishing. as the SMV decreases. And so they go to Africa where they can be treated like women. Under 100% understandable. What I'm saying is that doing that strategy will not work unless we get down to the root cause of why Black women are not getting what they want from Black men in the first place in the United States. Because one thing that is seen is those same Black men, who are not giving protection and provision to Black women, give it to other races, which means it's not a capability issue, it's a desire issue. So why do Black men not desire protecting Black women? Same way on the other side, why do Black women not desire being submissive to Black American men? Why? And what I'm saying is because of the fact that the Black community in America suffer from a toxic culture when it comes to their interactions with one another. And you see the manifestation of that toxicity in things that they produce for the world to consume, such as entertainment, primarily music, where you'll have people like the City Girls or Cardi B or Megan Thee Stallion, who a lot of Black women kind of like. And then you'll also have on the other side guys like, what's that guy who made Problems, whatever, from New York.
The Migos. The Migos. I mean, I don't know. Yeah.
Buffoons. So you see the manifestation of the toxicity of the culture in and of itself, from which these Black men and Black women are coming from. And so when Black women kind of escape, right, to try to go to Africa, first of all, you're in your 30s. So your SMV is pretty low because you're competing with women in their 20s. And you're coming from a toxic culture. And unless you deal with the toxic culture in the first place, you will have the same negative result in Africa as you did in America, which a lot of Black women are finding, right? You know, for example, and so what I'm saying is if we don't deal with the actual causes of the problems, then none of this is going to matter. And it's only going to be a disappointment, a letdown, which none of us want. Now I'm going to, that is for the more right-brained people who think from a logical perspective. That was my explanation for you. Now I'm going to go to the other people, the left-brained people, in essence, the women. A lot of Black men, okay, specifically Black men, let's talk about them, have come from a society that from the moment they are conceived in their mother's womb, society is trying to kill them. 90% of all abortion clinics are in the Black community. 1,000 Black kids are killed in the mother's womb per day. And then let's say his mother doesn't abort him. He is usually raised by a woman, by herself, 77% of the time. So he's not getting the masculine direction that he needs. Who that woman is probably bitter, angry, stressed out, overweight, poor, and then pours all of that frustration and anger onto him and tells him things that break his self-esteem from a very young age. And then he goes to a school where he's taught by a white woman who as well doesn't understand him and wants to put him, who sees him already as a young super predator, who doesn't properly educate him. Then you have a school system who wants to put him in special ed because they don't want to have to deal with his rambunctiousness. Here's a number. From kindergarten to third grade, Black boys perform better than all other groups. By the time they get to fourth grade, their performance decreases dramatically. That's a fact, right? So that means he's being put into a school system that doesn't want to educate him, that wants to kind of house him until he can go to prison. That's the school to prison pipeline. Then let's say he escapes that, right? And he doesn't end up in jail. Then if he does everything right, he gets out, he's going to have a hard time finding a job because of the fact that studies have shown that Black men are the most discriminated groups in terms of hiring in America. And then after all of that stuff that he's dealing with, oh, by the way, this whole time, he's probably growing up in a community where every example of male leadership he sees is somebody who's doing something wrong, selling drugs, murder, whatever, in a highly hostile environment where for him to, if he's not willing to fight or be violent or aggressive, he will not survive or be a constant victim. And then he sees other women who in that age range are looking for security themselves. They're going for the most violent, non-educated guys. And so everything is telling him that what he's supposed to do is to, in essence, do something that will get him in jail. Let's say he manages to pass that and he somehow gets himself into college. Now he goes to college, whether it be as an athlete or through academics. Throughout that entire college experience, he is most likely in an isolated environment. Then he gets out. He's being discriminated by company after company after company after company after company, while he sees his female counterparts getting those jobs. And then after all of that, his own women tell him repeatedly, you ain't shit. I don't deal with no broke men. You ain't got nothing to offer me. Fuck you, nigga. I don't like you. Blah, 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 blah. And then he's told, after dealing with all of that his entire life, that he's supposed to protect you. Now, if you are a man, how do you think most black men feel when they see that, when they have to overcome all of those issues every single day for their entire lives? And then black women have the audacity to get on national TV or public forums and tell everybody how they don't feel protected, how they don't feel provided for, how they don't feel that their men are adequate. And even worse now, how they feel that other races of men who, by the way, don't go through these issues are better than them, provide better than them, have more value than them. Oh, by the way, I didn't mention this part neither. When he does get into a relationship with his women will hit him. He can't hit her back. Call him out his name. He can't do nothing about it. Disrespect him publicly and in private. He can't do nothing about it. And if he ever at any moment shows any inkling of frustration, that same woman will use the legal system that wants to do nothing more than kill him to keep him in line, whether it be the child support system to take his money, whether it be the legal system to take his money, whether it be the police to arrest him and kick him out of his home. And then after all of that, black men are getting told, you ain't doing a good enough job. You're not protecting me. You're not doing this. And not only is this happening privately, it's public. And it is perfectly okay by society standard for a woman to get, a black woman to get on TV and blatantly disrespect her man in front of everybody. And people will clap for her and there will be no consequences at all. It is perfectly fine for Megan Thee Stallion, who teaches young women to divorce, to get on TV and say that a black man is like the Negroes who sell out people. That's perfectly fine. She gets celebrated for that.
This is what I spoke to. This is what I was speaking about, because I don't want you to feel like you have to pour your heart out again. But this is what I was talking about. We don't, but this is what we were talking about, though. But you don't need to be, you see, everybody, like all that you're saying, you're just expounding on it a little bit more. But you're also coming out like, and there are two women on the panel. But you're saying what I was saying, and it was acknowledged. This reality is real. It's real. It's very real, Lou. But what is it? It's not the only reason why we're, like relationships is not the only reason why women are moving to Africa. It goes way beyond that. So to say that women are just running away trying to, what do you say, Lou?
It's one of the biggest ones. Look, I know what I'm talking about. One of the biggest
ones, but not all of us. No. But you see, I'm not objecting to you. But you have to realize that you're talking to They're two women, but Tiffany's the guest. So let's say you're talking to Tiffany, who knows that she doesn't fit in that category. She's the guest, and she's telling you why she moved to Africa, and it doesn't fit what
One
you're
of the
saying,
reasons
even
she
though
moved
what
to
you're saying is
Africa
very real.
one of the things she likes
Huh?
about it, she said it, is the way that she's treated
One
by
of
men.
the things.
Right, but
One of the things.
it's
But we've listened
it's
to
a good
her in
one.
the past. Yeah,
Look,
but it's not wrong. It's not wrong. Aren't you going to be living in Africa too? Don't you like African women because of the
yeah.
toxicity
Well,
that
first
comes
of
from
all,
the women in America?
listen. I like
You
women.
know?
I'm saying
Yeah,
that.
but I mean, I've heard you in the past, Lou. It's real.
Okay, so what I'm saying to you is, from a logical standpoint, I just did the whole emotional part, really for the women, because I've been logical this entire time, and for whatever reason, some of you women just can't understand what I'm saying. And I say this because
That's
if you look at
real.
the comments, the people who don't understand what I'm
Very
saying
ignorant.
are women.
Very ignorant.
Okay, and I'm not
Okay.
saying women are bad. I'm saying there's a communication issue. So I'm trying a different
But
way.
yeah, but no, you're not doing it a different way now. Lou, you're still shouting. That's the thing. And so it's
Well,
going to come off by the women that need
I'm
to hear you.
shouting
The
because
women
you keep cutting me off, Poppy.
okay. Okay.
I just sat here and listened to you talk for
No, but I'm
20
trying to
minutes
bring you
straight.
down a
Didn't
notch.
interrupt
I'm
me.
just trying to bring you down a notch because you're speaking to women. And if you want them to hear what you're trying to say and hear what your concern is, you have to meet them where their mind is at. Otherwise, it's going to go over their head. So then it doesn't make sense to talk about it. But you need them to hear it, right? So that's all I'm talking about.
I'll be honest. I'm reading these comments in the chat room, and you got this brother who's pouring out, who's telling his truth, and you should read some of these comments. They're toxic.
They are, and they tore me up too. I was thinking they did the same thing to me, which is why I made a comment. I said, for you short-minded, I forgot what else I said. I said, the truth hurts your very
Poppy,
soul, and this is why
I'll tell
you're
you what.
stagnant because you can't hear truth.
Here's what I will say.
Quiet, Lou. I'm gonna listen to you.
Here's what I will say to you,
Sorry.
Poppy. And I'll say this to
Yeah.
everybody. The comments that you're seeing our sisters making on here, when people are just being honest, right? I've tried it to be say it in a logical way, and I've even tried to be more emotional about it to try to connect in the emotional realm. And we're seeing the response. Well, Tiffany, this one's for you. That's why you don't get protection. So you want to know why you're not getting protection from black men? Read the comments. Because if you were a man, would you want to protect that?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Let me shut up. She already spoke on that. Can I speak because I share the same sentiment. Tiffany, I'm not going to speak on her behalf. It's quiet because of how you're speaking. Yeah, but listen, you're not wrong. The problem is that we get cast into the same category with those type of women. And when we who are really crying out and need it, it's not there for us. And so, yes, one part of going somewhere else, we all deserve to be happy going somewhere where we think we might, those of us who are got our heads screwed on properly, might be able to receive what we really need. So you gotta understand, I'm not disagreeing with you, and I'm looking at the toxicity in the chat because, like I said, the black man and woman relationship is what's either going to break the whole race apart or keep it together, and the chat room is evident of it. They cannot hear a single thing that is being said. You talk niceness, you talk calm, you talk the positive things Tiffany speaking her truth, and it is true, and I can relate. But it's coming off. She's speaking to the positive things, but she's going into her modest corner right now because of the energy that is going. But when you start speaking other harsh truths that starts peeling scabs off of wounds, people start screaming and yelling, "F you, this, that, and the other," and I don't care. I'm looking at it too. They were being very nasty with me. Any other topic, people are like, "Oh my God, I was on the other night. Oh my God, Fatum Liar. Ooh, how can I get in touch with you?" But you start talking about some real stuff, they forgot who you are any other time. So, it's sad. It is sad. And like I said, men have been traumatized, so has women. I want to know, what is the solution? Because Lou, you're not saying anything that's not true. It's just that it doesn't.
That's what I was trying to get to at the beginning of this conversation. The first step to the solution is we got to start being honest on both sides. But I am going to say this to you.
Right.
The same way you feel like it would be unfair for a quality woman like you, or what I'm going to presume to be a quality woman like Tiffany, to be lumped in with the people in this and on the chat, right? It is the same on the other side with black men. Because at the end of the day, the same way you don't want to be lumped in with the group and have to experience the consequences that the others deserve when you're not like that, that's how black men feel too. If you're a quality black, because Dynas is a black man. He protects women. Matter of fact, I've been watching Dynas protect you constantly. He will stop everybody from talking in mid-sentence just to let you talk for as long as you want to talk. That's a black man protecting a black woman right there. Right?
Yeah,
But,
yeah, you're right.
But here's
Mm-hmm.
the deal, though. Here's the deal. Dynas also has to sit there and listen to a black woman say, oh, I don't feel like black men protect black women. He has to sit there and listen to
me the other night. But Dynas listened to me the other night when a very direct question was actually asked to me directly. Do I feel safe with Dynas and with Fajimoni, who are both, we're family, okay? And my answer was yes, absolutely. Because I don't sit here and bash men. Nobody can ever say I did that.
Well, I didn't, Fafi,
I don't do
bash men. I never said that.
No, I know, but
make sure that I never said that. I'm saying to you, what I'm saying to you is that the same way you don't want to be lumped in with the black women that give black women a bad rap, which I understand, it is the same on the other side of black men not wanting to be lumped in with black men who give black men a bad rap. But what I'm saying to you is here you have a black man. I'm not going to use myself. I'm going to use Dynas. Right here you have a black man who has, in front of everybody, protected black women repeatedly, but he has to sit and listen to black women say how they don't feel protected because of their individual traumatic experiences, so therefore I don't feel protected by black men.
Okay.
Now, what do you think? I'm not like that. It doesn't matter that he's not like that. The majority of black men are like that.
No.
That consequence too. He has to be punished for that too. Because by the way, other black women might treat him.
Hold on.
That's what's happening to you.
Hold on, Tiffany.
I'm gonna say this and mute my mic.
Hold on, Tiffany. You're our host. I mean, you're our special guest. Anything you'd like to add, Tiffany?
From me listening to everybody speak, I feel like we're all making the same points. I don't think that anybody is disagreeing with what is being said, because I agree with a lot of what you said, Lou Major. For me, though, and this is not just to you, I always feel like it's important to make sure that we are being super specific with our words. But like I said, and you see, I put it in the chat just between the people who are on this, I put, like, I'm literally not disagreeing with what you're saying. I'm talking about our use of language here in this particular conversation. Everything that you're saying is right. And it's like, I hate that this is how it is. I hate that more than anything else, you know? I wish it wasn't so that I would overhear conversations of my sisters talking about niggas ain't shit. I hate that. But when I hear it, I feel like it's my duty to come into that conversation and correct it in the same way that I might correct anything else that I hear that is not correct, you know? So I hear you and I understand you. I understand exactly what you're saying. And I've said that a couple times, and I hear what you're saying. Sis, you know, because I'm not good at pronouncing your name. Fafu Malau, I hope I pronounced it correctly. I'm not always the best. But both of you, I don't hear either one of you saying anything different. It's why I'm confused, why it seems like it's a debate, because I don't hear either one of you saying, I hear you both saying the same things, but trying to correct each other in a loving way, which I do appreciate that part. I hate that the sound of the conversation is starting to sound a little bit like Mari. I don't like that though. Because again, and I said this earlier, we have to be mindful that how we speak to each other here on this platform, we are basically doing the same thing that artists do, that actors do, that everybody else does, even though this is YouTube. Whatever we say, we are being an example for someone. Whatever we say, we are igniting emotions within people who are watching. Yes, some people in the comments, I saw them chew up. I saw them chew up everybody that's been speaking. But what's most important is how we speak to each other in this conversation because we are the ones talking to each other, right? You know, there's a lot of all of us have trauma. That's been acknowledged. I just don't want this conversation to continue as an argument or a debate when I'm hearing all of us say the same things. That like disrupts my soul in a way that I just don't like. Because here we are, black African people up here arguing. We all want solutions. We're all passionate about this. We all want solutions. But what's not going to help is us talking over each other, not listening to each other, and allowing our trauma to fuel what it is that we're saying. And we all have to check ourselves. You know, that's the only reason I've been looking at the comments is to try to figure out, let me check myself. Let me make sure I didn't say something that's going to add trauma to somebody else's life, somebody watching or somebody on this conversation. I just want us to be more mindful. And again, Lou Major, I'm telling you that like I feel you and I know this is an issue, but I just think we have to start here, and that's to everybody here. Please, y'all, let's not argue. Let's listen to each other. Let's allow each other to speak, and let's not do this because we're being an example too. And this is it's starting to feel for me like Mari, and I don't like that.
Okay. How we got Janine? Go ahead, Janine.
Hey everybody, good to see you. So, and listening to the conversation, you guys all bring up really great points and really great questions and things like that. But one of the things I wanted to touch on is, the question that Lou Major was trying to answer in the first place, which was like, what solutions can we have to stop the, you know, bickering between Black men and Black women, and also to like discuss why maybe Black women are and maybe should go to Africa, to find mates. And I also want to give a little bit of different perspective on it because I feel like a lot of people take the Black female and male relationship um, issue and kind of generalize it as if all the Black men, a lot of Black women feel like all the Black men are chasing the Cardi B types, or they're chasing this, they have this kind of like ghetto description of a Black woman. And then many of the Black women have a ghetto perception of Black men. And that's just not the truth about the Black community in whole. There's our issue with our relationship, as we know, runs very deep because of systematic things, traumas, the things that Black Americans in general have experienced here in America. Slavery and all that have pretty much divided our families, and we know this. But yet when we have these conversations, I notice everybody tends to focus on how they feel, and like I said, those ghetto personifications of the man and the woman that we hate the most. That's where the focus is always. But if you guys can take it and look at it in whole, you can see that Black men, American Black women and men in particular, need to go to Africa to reestablish culture, reestablish who they are. And I think Fafa Malau, I'm sorry, I know I said it wrong, but she was mentioning, people going back to Africa to, experience ground zero, to go back and reconnect with Mama Africa and things like that, which is the truth. And in doing that, the more Black women and Black men go to Africa and just relate and remember, how we were as a people, how we were as a culture, you can then start to have better conversations with each other. You will be more open to listen to one another. You'll be more open and willing to, you know, deal with your own selves, because I know You know, I have a teacher in one of the spiritual traditions that I follow that has taught me so much about his culture. And in learning about his culture, it has helped me change my perspective as an American Black woman on how I view femininity, how I view submissiveness, how I view, you know, being a wife, um, how I view the purpose of marriage, because you know, everything in their culture and how they get married is very strategic. You know, a lot of people will debate about how Africans have the bride price and things like that. But those things in the culture, the way my teacher explained it to me, was that those bride prices and things like that make the man feel like he is investing in his family, investing in his marriage, and so he acts a certain way. He's protective. He's, you know, it's like they're focusing on that masculine part of a man to make sure he's held accountable to his family and to his, you know, the growth of their future. And then the women, you know, they too have to give, you know, certain gifts. Their family has to agree to marry these people. um you have to make sure the ancestors of those families connect. You know, there's a lot of strategicness in it when you start learning about these cultures. And for me, that made things broader. It made things better for me to be able to go and say, okay, if I, as an American woman who is growing up around all this liberalism, all this women should be allowed to work, women should be allowed to do this, women that, and I kind of got this I don't need no man kind of attitude, but I hear how my teacher's family life is and how cultural they are. I now can take that perspective and say, well, maybe I need to tone down that liberal perspective I have. Maybe I need to remember that, you know, once the Black community was very family oriented, but even after slavery ended, we were, you know, very family oriented until certain systematic things happened. Maybe I need to revisit these things and start appreciating them and show, you know, incorporating those things into my family. And so, you know, I think it's, if we're looking for the solution on how to solve these problems, we have to stop arguing like who's wrong in the situation. Like, are the Black women wrong because they're so liberal and they support, you know, homosexuality and they support this and they support that, and Black men are like, oh, we're always getting killed on, you know, on every street, and Black women are always saying we ain't shit and all these things. Stop focusing on that, because those things are issues because they were given to us to be issues. They were given to us to divide us. And so if you want to fix those issues, maybe it's okay for a good portion, not, and I'm not saying everybody has to go to Africa to, you know, find a bride or a groom or whatever, but I do encourage more Black Americans to maybe consider going outside of our culture to reconnect and learn culture and family again. And then maybe we can come back and teach others that, you know, have these very negative perspectives, and maybe change them so that maybe Black men and women in America can, you know, start to reconnect, start to think better of their families, think better of themselves, hold pride in their family, not think that if they have to marry outside of their race just because, you know, they don't really like the persona of Black, of, you know, how Black people are seen in society. You know, there's just so many factors that make Black Americans hate themselves, not want to deal with each other, want to argue and fuss and fight all the time. And I just, you know, that's my thought process and what I'm learning. And the reason why, me personally, I do have a man now, but if I wasn't with him, I would definitely consider going to Africa to, you know, explore my options. And I am in a more sound of mind to be able to go to Africa with a certain amount of respect and willingness to learn the culture and adapt myself to that husband. Because, and I want to stress that, because I noticed Lou Major will say that Black women will go to Africa and it's going to fail for them because they're going to go there and bring a certain type of perspective. And he's correct. If you go to Africa and you bring your liberal points of the perspective of feminism and things like that, it's not going to work very well there because they have a certain culture, they have certain things that they do. And if you're going to go there and, you know, seek out a husband or a wife, you should go there with the perception of, you know, learning how to relearn these things, because we know it's something that we're not strong suited in anymore. It's something we're struggling in, and why our divorce rate is so high. You know, and that's pretty much all I wanted to say.
Yeah. All right, what we'll do, we'll close out. We'll do one more round. We'll close out, ending with Tiffany. Lou Major, go ahead. You got 3 minutes.
First things first, great conversation. I think, you know, I'm glad that we were able to talk it out and to a certain extent. You know, this is obviously a very difficult topic for our community as a whole. And what I will definitely say is, if we don't find a way, Black America, I definitely want to keep it on Black America, because this is not a whole Black thing. This is a Black America thing. And then again, I think it's great that Black Americans are coming to Africa. I think it's great that Black American women are going to Africa. I'm actually all for that. What I will say is, Black people, we have some very real cultural problems. Okay. And the culture at this point is so bad that at this point, as I've been listening to this entire conversation, being part of it, listening to others, I don't know if anybody actually was noticed this, but nobody took ownership of Black culture. That's why it became, well, I mean, in my experience, in the individualization of it, because people don't really, we all know it's bad. We know that the culture is bad. And I want to reference back to a show from yesterday, in which case it's so bad that we don't even want to acknowledge that there is a Black community, which means there's a Black culture, by saying there is no Black community. It's all about individuals, because no one wants to be associated with what is a toxic culture and what seems to be in every way, from how we spend our money to our interactions with each other. And my position is, for Black people, Black America, to start moving ahead beyond just this topic, we have to start dealing with the culture, the collective culture, which means the first way to even deal with it was we have to go all the way down to acknowledging that there is a culture, right? Let's start with that. Then acknowledging that it's toxic. Then we could begin to then saying what role every side is playing in that toxic culture. And then we could begin to dismantle and rebuild the culture from the ground up, because this culture, this Black American culture, is so bad that it's irredeemable, right? It has to be completely destroyed and rebuilt from the start. But the first step is that we have to acknowledge that. So this conversation, this issue between Black men and Black women, to the point that a lot of our sisters and our brothers, Black men and Black women, are doing everything they can to kind of, you know, from going to Africa, packing up all their lives and making a drastic move to get out, which is good. We have to sit there and say that what we don't want to do is we don't want to bring that toxicity and export that to Africa. Because one thing that was never discussed in this entire conversation is the fact that a lot of these liberalistic, feministic ideas that killed the Black community and continue to kill our men and our women today, the same Black men that you guys are now valuing because when you had masculinity, when you had the protection of Black men, what we have to remember is a lot of our sisters were tricked into believing that it wasn't a good thing with the idea of feminism, white feminism. You were tricked. You were played into believing that wasn't a good thing. And so you you turned against your men, right? And so they got you to turn against your men for doing the very same things that now black women go to Africa and say, I can't believe this. This feels so great. Well, here's the interesting thing. There's a movement in Africa right now, right, of black African women adopting and accepting the same feminism that have black women in America in the position that they're in right now.
Hey, Lou Major, if I can interject real quick, and I know we're about to end the show, but I would have loved for an African woman to come on here because the way that it's weird, and maybe Tiffany or Fafa Malaga answer to it because they're in Africa. You have so the way that Black American women who are relocating to Africa and praising African male masculinity, you have a lot of African women who are coming over here and complaining about how toxic it is, how they can't do this, how they're oppressed. So it's an interesting dynamic.
Because you have to understand that I will say this, and I wanted to actually get to this, but we never did because we can't acknowledge the issue long enough for us to get to what's really happening. Our women and women in general, so I don't want to, but I'm going to talk about our women because that's what our women are very easily tricked and bamboozled by outside forces, by propaganda, right? So African women are being bamboozled by white Western feminism, and they're complaining about the very masculinity that, if it went away, would make them feel.
I'm sorry, I have to cut in. I think that was exactly what I addressed, and I feel like you completely just went over that. I completely mentioned that one of the things that we needed to do was go over to Africa, especially me as an American Black woman, and go over there with the perspective of dropping my liberalism and learning culture. I literally said that, and you just completely
not to cut you
dismissed
off, but
it, and then
you
came back and
misspoke.
said,
No, continue. I'm sorry. Continue. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But no. She did just misspeak.
No, Lou, let her finish. I don't want to assume that she did, but I want her to continue before. But go ahead.
Go ahead, finish your point.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. How did
Because
I
I think because I don't think Lou said that. I think we got on to the point that a lot of African women are coming to America and saying that they're being abused. African men are toxic.
it's true, but he's also saying that Black American women are easily tricked and have this feminist
Black
perspective
women
and so on.
Women are. It's not just Black American women. Black American women are what you're experiencing right now, Janine, and what most of our sisters in this generation are experiencing is the results of several generations of Black women being tricked and bamboozled by white Western feminism, and then
which
they
I acknowledged
destroy
in
their
my
own men.
statement.
And then now you put yourself in a situation where you are vulnerable because you don't have male protection. And I'm saying and so now when you get around male protection in Africa, you're like, oh, this feels great. But what you don't realize is you used to have that. You destroyed it because you got tricked into doing it. And now
I addressed all of that. I addressed all of that and said Black women need to go to Africa and have a portion where they are having the ability to learn culture again. Because even I said I may have suffered from some of the Western civilization viewpoints and things like that, but in learning about my teacher's culture and learning about African culture, I was able to change my perspective, which was the solution you asked for.
Okay, Janine, if you have changed your perspective, then you should let me finish, because you should know that in African culture, it is impolite for a woman to cut a man off when he's speaking.
You always get what does that have to do with this topic?
Because I didn't finish my point, so you just spoke out of turn, and you that's what I was saying.
All right, Lou, let's go ahead and Fafa Malal, go ahead. Let's close out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so continuing looking at the chat, and there are a whole lot of new people in here and a lot of negative people. And I'll just again say this is what our problem is. But Okay. Um, Now, those of you who know me and have heard me, every time I've come on, one of the most consistent things that I have, taken note of, because we all sit back and analyze, we go over things and wonder, did we say some things we shouldn't have? Did we say what we needed to say? But one of the things that I've noticed consistently was, oh, Fafumulayo is so patient. She's so calm. She's so poised. She's whatever. Look, she's keeping calm, even under attack. So what I want to say for those who are misunderstanding what's happening here tonight, the only reason, because for me this is a redundant topic, not on search for Uhuru, but it's like all around, because it is an ongoing problem. It hasn't, it's never going to go away. I think not in the West, but like Lou said, now the reason and the only reason why I called in is because I got a dose of Tiffany's demeanor already in the past and her character. And I've gotten plenty of doses of Lou's. So when I come on tonight and I'm talking, it was simply for the purpose of mediating as well as widening the perspective, because I saw that it went towards a relationship. But I also saw that, for the chat and for the people on the call, that we needed to balance it out because there's some very real truths on both sides. Lou is a person that naturally speaks loud, and he'll go on and on and on and on and on, speaking his point. And that's him. And a lot of what he says really needs to be heard. Again, though, it is hard for some people to receive, because in the Western world, we've been taught that once a man starts yelling, it's a bad thing. But we get to scream and, and, so the problem, and, I came on because there are women in the chat. There are women watching the show. There's a woman guest. Okay. And we've all been traumatized. Part of my life's work, I provide counsel for more people than anybody knows. I keep things to myself. My phone stays going all day long for counsel. Every time somebody calls me, they say, "How are you doing?" "I'm good. I'm grateful. I give thanks for everything." But I always say, "I'm tired." Okay. Because I don't have all the answers. I don't know everything. The reason why I came on this call, though, is because I knew that Lou was going to, to come like he does. And I kind of wanted to just mediate. And when you have to interject to stop something that may be perceived as toxicity, okay, so my purpose is interjecting. And if Lou is loud, then I'm going to get loud so that he can hear me, but not to disagree with my brother. Because I'll say it again, I don't care what anybody in the chat is saying. I agree and empathize wholeheartedly with Tiffany, as well as with Lou Major, actually with everybody that's been on this panel. So I just want to say that, Atticus, I'm not afraid to block you. You keep saying abusing my power, this and everything that is coming out of your mouth is extremely negative. And tonight, what has, the shows always kind of go off, and tonight I'm going to say it went off into like a healing space, which is what the place typically is. And you're just spewing toxicity and toxicity. So yes, I'm going to delete your toxic comments, because it is it's only hurting other people. It's creating confusion. So, I don't abuse any type of power. And there are people that know me directly and know my heart. But I'm going to ask, if you guys cannot contribute anything positive to a big problem that is on the table before us, then don't say anything. You don't have to agree, but this is the very thing we're talking about. And so I'm going to close and just saying that is the only reason why I called in, because Tiffany is very graceful, and I hear that power in her too. She can be very passionate, but it's a time and a place for everything. And Lou is just pure fire, passionate. I don't know if he's a Aries or a Sagittarius. I don't know, but pure passion, rightfully so. But he's on warrior status, and I found it necessary for some feminine energy to just cut in and mediate for a second, but also just shed light on both sides. So that's it. I'll be quiet. I love y'all. And I think that this is a very, very well needed conversation. Hopefully, the viewers that come and watch the replay, hopefully, the viewers that are sitting behind their computers and their phones that are not in the chat, are actually gaining what was meant to be gained from this conversation, even though we hardly touched on all of the other reasons why we would move to Africa, because it's not just about some DICK and a hug and some masculinity. There's so many other elements that we crave and that we need, or that we're drawn to. So maybe that's another discussion. But I hope that there was some medicine in Lou's words and in Tiffany's words, and that those who really needed to receive it received it. And thank you for allowing me the space to speak. I waited for a long time, hence I had a lot to say. Love y'all. Thank you, Dynas. Thank you, Tiffany. Thank
No
you,
problem.
Janine. Thank you, Lou.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, Tiffany.
First of all, Dynas, thank you again for having me, and thank you to everybody who joined in on the conversation. The only thing I want to say is, number one, I would appreciate it if you vibe with me to go on over to my channel and hit that subscribe button. Also, Jane, I just kind of want to piggyback and repeat something that she said to make sure that it didn't get lost, and that's all I got to say. I think it's really important for all of us who are able and those who are not able to plan to be able to come to the continent, period. Whether you go with Dynas on one of his tours, whether you get there on your own, whether you move here, I think it's really important, and that there's a lot of healing here for all of us to just come and observe the people that were born here, to have conversations with them, and to learn as much as we can, because a lot of the issue is that the only culture that we have adopted is a culture that was given to us, not like our own culture. And I think if we can get back to learning some of our own cultures, that it will be easier for us to be in relationship with each other. No, African-born continental Africans are not perfect. No, their relationships are not perfect either. But they do have some wealth, some richness that we don't have, simply because they live here on this land. So I just think it's important for us to come here if we're able. And thank you to everybody who participated.
No
I appreciate
everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Go to dynastymirror.com. Also, tour April 21st to the 30th. April 21st to the 30th. We are going to Sierra Leone. Come and join us. Send me a message. Until next time, family, Dynasty Mirror, search for who. Like, share, subscribe, and also go to Tiffany's page and make sure you subscribe. The link will be in the description to her page, so make sure you go to her page and subscribe as well. Until next time, family, Dynasty Mirror, search for Huru. Peace.